Enjoy all episodes of the RCWR Show on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio.
Are you tired of being denied the things you need in life due to poor credit? Call Back on Track Financial Services. They work with you to rebuild a strong credit file and remove inaccurate, erroneous, negative items from your credit report. Contact them today for a free consultation and let them get you back on track. Back on Track Financial Services. Toll free 1-800-451-0993. Once again, that's 1-800-451-0993. One more time, 1-800-451-0993. Back on Track Financial Services. The new TNA is coming to Patreon, and that's TNA as in twerk and ass. Go to patreon.com/TNA, and for as little as $3 a month, become a rewards member of the newest, hottest, twerkiest fan page on the web and or on your mobile device. For all things twerk, go to patreon.com/TNA or download the Patreon mobile app either from the Apple Store or Google Play. Be a part of the hippest community, get rewards, and see all the girls and the hot twerk action. We'll be continuously adding content daily from launch on August 11th at midnight Pacific time. Don't miss out and be a part of the party. Make it rain on August 11th at midnight Pacific time. This is your personal invite to the launch at patreon.com/TNA. Once again, the Twerk Show launches on August 11th at midnight Pacific time. Head on over to patreon.com/TNA. And again, on August 11th at midnight Pacific time, that's when they launch. Make it rain, y'all. Have a awesome twerking ass day. May I have your attention, please? If you would like to treat your family to a luxury 1 or 2 bedroom condominium vacation in one of over 3,000 destinations for only $39 per night, call 1-888-229-3542 to see if you qualify for this incredible opportunity. Only a limited number of condos are available. Call now to see if you qualify. Many luxurious condominiums worldwide are looking for qualified travelers to participate in this promotion. If you qualify, you will be able to stay in a beautiful, luxurious condominium normally selling for $450 per night for only $39 per night. Call 1-888-229-3542. One more time, 1-888-229-3542. That's 1-888-229-3542. Call now.
Warning, the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond since 2011. You're listening to the RCWR Show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
You're listening to the RCWR Show, episode 547, coming at you all. What is going on, my pretty babies? It's the one and only Lee Sanders. Thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. I know we were supposed to be coming at you all this past Tuesday with an all-new episode, but I had some personal matters. I do appreciate you guys that are checking out this episode right now on the downloads. Hey, as always, love to hear from you guys, especially when it comes to these episodes, and I cannot stress this enough, especially for those of you that follow me on social media. You saw the post I had put up on Facebook with regards to interacting. I can't stress it enough. You love the shows that I do for you guys on a weekly basis. Represent. Share the episodes. Retweet. If you see that little like/heart button as you're listening to this episode right now, make sure you click on that bad boy. Retweet, share it, Google Plus it. It's one of the many ways you can spread the good word about the content. I wasn't going to make the announcement until actually next month. Next month. Try saying that 10 times fast. But no, I was not going to make the announcement until late September. But there was a couple of things that had went down. One of them, my God, the timing was really bad. One of my co-workers, who is transgendered, was having a midlife crisis going on, and I'm not going to put all of her personal business out there, but long story short, the person that she had been dating in a pretty serious relationship for the past, I don't know, I want to say maybe 5, possibly 6 years, she just decided that she had enough, that they were growing apart, and she felt that she could not give my coworker what she really needed in a partner, and she just felt that the two of them would be better off as friends, and she's just been in a world of hurt as a result of that. So it was so crazy, because when this went down on Tuesday, I was already prepping, I was getting ready for the show, and then she hit me up with a text message asking what I was doing and everything, and I told her, not much, just, getting ready to do my show for the night. What's up? And she's like, I really need somebody to talk to. So I'm like, well, I'm here. You can text me. She's like, nah, what I have to say is much too long. Can I just call you? And we were on the phone for probably about, I don't know, felt like about maybe 30, 40 minutes. And finally, I could just tell that she really wasn't doing that well in the head. And I just said, look, you want to maybe meet up and talk face to face? You can get a lot more off your chest and all that. Sometimes kind of help to actually be sitting in front of somebody and conversing that way. And she's like, you sure it's no problem at all? I'm like, yeah, no, it's no problem at all. So she actually came on over to my place, and we actually had hung out in the neighborhood, just sitting in her car talking, listening to some 98 Rock out in Baltimore, for you guys that are big fans of that station. I love that station a lot. Nice to see that all these years later, they still know how to throw it down, man. It's always been one of my favorite go-tos for some rock, be it classic, modern, whatever. So by the time we got done talking, it was probably, my God, it was probably like about 9:30, 9:45. I still didn't even scratch the surface on the number of topics I wanted to cover on the show for that week. So ultimately, that's what had got the show pushed back to what you're hearing right now. So that's a little bit of the backdrop. I appreciate those of you that understood what was going on and was like, no problem, Lee. Already know when you come on back to do the next episode, it's going to be pretty solid, because a lot of shit went down. I know you're going to be getting into them. Yeah, definitely going to be getting into it here on this episode. So the other announcement that I got to make, and I'm not going to go overkill on this, because I mean, we got a lot of wrestling oriented content that we need to get into on this episode. So for those of you that really love it when I talk about wrestling, hey, you're in for it. And of course, if you're not feeling a lot of the stuff that I'm saying right now, you are listening to this on demand and or on the downloads. You have a very powerful button at your disposal right now, which is the fast forward button. So feel free to utilize it. But the big announcement. So by late September, the RCWR show is going to move exclusive to being a on-demand / downloadable show. My schedule, it's just really gotten to that point where I'm really trying to do my best to find that balance. And like I said on Facebook, the show, I appreciate those that check out the show live. I really do. But the live listenership, on a monthly basis, I will say it's consistent. But I'm toying with the idea of having the show just be on demand / available on the downloads. Now, if there are those of you that check out the show live and you're not really like trying to see that happen, the best thing you can do is represent. And when you see that I am on live, come out and represent. If it's a situation where maybe Tuesday nights are just really bad for you, I would prefer it if you went out of your way and you hit me up all throughout social media, or maybe even leave a voicemail message over at the website and say, Lee, honestly, Tuesdays just don't work. If you maybe had moved to this day instead, I know myself and a few other listeners would check you out on this day. But for those of you that are able to tune in live Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, represent and come out. The more people that come out to check out the live stream, the more inclined I will personally feel to say, you know what, let me go ahead and keep the show live just a little while longer. So represent. One thing that I will be toying around with is a app. There's going to be a RCWR Show app that is going to be launching in early September. I'm actually pretty ecstatic for that. So we're going to see if that app will help out as well as far as boosting live listenership. So that all is what's currently going down right now. And it all, honestly, the tipping point, it just really came from a listener. And look, I'll say this and we can get into a number of the cool topics on the show, man. Like, I did the SummerSlam after show for you guys. And you got to understand where I'm coming from. I was about halfway through the show. I noticed there was not, I repeat, not any interactions going on in the chat. And I just had made up my mind. I said, okay, you know what? For a lot of people, they don't sat through a 2-hour pre-show, and then they had to sit through a 4-hour pay-per-view event. So basically 6 hours of SummerSlam when it's all said and done. It just would not been fair to ask people to kick around for a 2+ hour after show talking about SummerSlam. Just not fair, especially when people gotta go to work, kids are getting ready to go back to school, or at that point they already were back in school, but they got school Monday morning. Just not fair from those standpoints. So once I was halfway through the show and I pretty much was like down to only a couple of more matches, I think at that point I maybe had like 3 matches left to talk about, I had made the decision mentally that, okay, this is it. Not gonna address any questions or comments. If anything, just encourage folks to forward them on the next episode. And I had said, you could hear the episode. I said, hey, not gonna take any questions, not gonna take any comments, blah, 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 blah. You know, I have work in the morning. I'm working 2 jobs right now, so my day begins pretty early. So yeah, we're gonna cut this pretty short. So a couple of listeners have felt they were pissed. They were pissed. They wanted their voices to be heard. And, I can understand where they're coming from, but you got to understand where I'm coming from, which is, I'm literally working 2 full-time jobs, and I'm not bitching. I'm not complaining about it. All I'm saying is typically this is my schedule, just to give you an idea of what is going on with me at my end. My day will typically begin at 6 in the morning. I get up at about the same time as the missus. Now, by the time we both get ready and everything like that, we're pretty much out the door about an hour later. Boom, by 8 a.m., 8:15, I'm already at work. I'm usually doing that until about maybe, I don't know, it depends. A lot of times I'm up there until 6 o'clock in the evening, and then if it's a situation where I have to work my second gig, then I'm only going to get, if I'm lucky, about less than 3 hours of sleep. And then I have to work overnight until about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then usually from that overnight job, I have to go straight to my other job. So unless it's a day off, I don't really get to see home that much. And when I do get to see home, I'm ready to take care of some personal stuff. I'm definitely ready to hang out with the missus. So that I really hope that gives you a little bit of insight where I'm coming from. So when I say to you guys, hey, for this episode, I'm just too beat, I can't really tackle any questions or comments this week, don't take it personal. I really mean that. Please do not take it personal. Now, if you really want me to tackle a question or comment, even more the reason why, when you see me post a thread saying got a question or comment, or hey, leave something on the website, utilize those platforms, because 9 out of 10, unless something like major had happened, I always tell you guys, and I usually come through, hey, we'll kick off the first half of the show tackling you all's questions, comments on this matter, or whatever. So I just tell you, I was really amazed that the people that, and these were long-time listeners, I was really taken back by how upset they were that I did not tackle their questions or their comments or what have you. And it's just one of those type of deals. It's like you can't take it personal. At the same time, it's definitely been a bit discouraging whenever I do the shows live. It's usually the same 1 or 2 people that's trying to interact, and although I appreciate it, sometimes it gets a little bit redundant in a bad way, seeing the same people pop up, and I'd like for it to be more than just about interacting with 1 or 2 people. So a lot of times, unless it's something that's like, yes, that's a very valid point, it should be mentioned, that should be addressed, 8 out of 10, I'm going to skip right past it. So that's another thing that you got to keep in mind as well. Don't just put something out there just so you can get an acknowledgement. Put something out there that's definitely thought-provoking, very engaging, where I can spend a few minutes talking about it. Just some food for thought. So on that note, let's go ahead, let's get into some of the wrestling action. Now that we pushed that out front, hey, what a fantastic Monday Night Raw that we got once again from the Barclays Center. Oh, in New York, my God, that was a really solid edition of Monday Night Raw. I have to say, I enjoyed it. It gets a strong pass from me. I believe we did a Raw interactive poll. I'm actually looking at my Twitter timeline right now because I really haven't been active like that on Twitter the past couple of days. I've been pretty quiet, but I strongly believe that I did put up a Raw interactive poll, and I did ask you all, how would you rate this week's Raw? We got a tie right now for thumbs up, thumbs down, which is at 30%. Meanwhile, just slightly above that, we have staying in the middle at 39%. You have a little bit under a day left to let your voice be heard. So cast your vote on Twitter right now. Twitter at the RCWR Show. Make sure you give me a follow over there as well. I loved how Raw had opened up with the Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. That's right, still your Universal Champion Brock Lesnar coming out with Paul Heyman. Loved the big roaring cheers of Suplex City from the crowd. I love Heyman basically taking the mic and pretty much telling the crowd and those at home, hey, I told you this was going to happen. I gave you guys a spoiler. I told you what was going to be fact. I told you how everything was going to be going down at SummerSlam. And when it was all said and done, after you go past Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar is still here, your Universal Champion. So pretty much, look, check this out. Going forward, any victimizing that needs to be done, any perpetrators that need to be handled with, anybody that needs to be given a ticket to Suplex City, Brock Lesnar is going to be the one to distribute all that. And that was pretty much it in a nutshell. And Brock Lesnar just had like one of the most biggest, cheesiest grins on his face. And then right on cue, you hear that roar music of Braun Strowman, who would come out face to face. Yes, actually getting face to face with Brock Lesnar, letting his intentions be very clear that he's not done with Brock Lesnar, not by a long shot. He wants a piece of him, and he wants that WWE Universal Championship. And we see Brock Lesnar not backing down, telling him straight up, yeah, I'm still champion. What's up? You want some of this? What's up? Brock Lesnar, oh my God, once again getting manhandled, getting owned by Braun Strowman, as Braun brought the fight to Brock Lesnar. Pretty much ended with not one but two scoop up running power slams, body slams. Braun Strowman standing tall over Brock Lesnar, holding the WWE Universal Championship high in the air. Thunderous ovation, great crowd support, great reactions, great pop in general for Braun Strowman. We would find out about, I would say, less than 40 minutes after that strong opening of a segment that in less than 5 weeks, it is going to be Brock Lesnar defending his Universal Championship against Braun Strowman one-on-one. I gotta tell you, this is one of the most anticipated matchups I am looking forward to. And I can't stress it enough, and I'm just curious how many of you fans out there have the same mindset that I have right now, which I'm about to elaborate into, which is when I saw Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman, I mean, just the teases that I've been seeing the past couple of months off and on, and then to just finally see things implode at SummerSlam. And then for everything to culminate in this great moment that we had saw on Monday Night Raw, because that's literally what it was. It wasn't a segment, it was a moment. And for me, as a wrestling fan, my love, my affection for the WWE goes as far back as the early 80s, basically. So I have been checking out the product that long. I have been a faithful fan. Rough times, good times, bad times. I've had my share, but I've been with them. When I've needed to give a constructive criticism on the brand, I've given the constructive criticism. When they've done right, I give them praise. I can't recall the last time I was very excited to see a really good matchup. And that segment just really had me stop and reminisce for a few minutes. I had to actually stop and think about everything that I have seen from the WWE over the years. And I had to go like way, way back. Well, I could go kind of almost in recent memory. And one of the things that had first jumped off in my head was John Cena taking on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. For me, that was a matchup I was invested in. That was something I wanted to see. That was a great moment. From the moment that those two had collided, I was riveted. I was taken in by it. Those emotions, that's what I felt when I saw Braun and Brock Lesnar Monday night. Take it a step further. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the immortal Hulk Hogan. Remember when these two worlds had first collided and everything culminated in that awesome WrestleMania match? Remember that? Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar reminded me of that. Or how about Survivor Series 1997? Shawn Michaels taking on Bret Hitman Hart for the WWF Championship. Another great moment. Or Kurt Angle taking on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. it was, what I saw Monday night was more than just, okay, here's a matchup. Here's this encounter. What I saw Monday night was a moment. And I tell you, I enjoyed the living hell out of it. What is so interesting to me is how quickly the fans have been able to take in Braun Strowman. And it's so funny when you really stop and think about it, because you look at this guy in Braun Strowman. One of the first times we saw him, he was one of Adam Rose's rosebuds. And then fast forward, the guy's part of the Wyatt family stable. And I said on this very show, that guy Braun Strowman, keep your eyes on him. That's a breakout star waiting to happen. And I tell you, his rise to the main event scene has been a really great, impressive run. It has been one of the most slowly cooked, slowly invested bookings of a wrestler, of a talent, that I have seen in recent memory. And I love every single aspect about it. That's pretty much culminated to where we are right now. And isn't it interesting, folks? Since Braun Strowman has been involved on the main roster, he has not tasted any championship whatsoever. Now, some of you may say, well, surely, Lee, he won the tag team titles at some point. No, he did not even win the tag team titles. And I say that for a reason. Just really stop and let that marinate for a good moment. Braun Strowman's been part of the main event scene now on Raw for like what? God, it feels like maybe a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, give or take. That's how it kind of feels. I mean, if it's a lot less than that, I'd be shocked. If you were to tell me it's only been a year, I'd really be shocked at that. I'll rely on you listeners for any corrections, but let's just say almost 2 years tops. And to see this guy take the type of rise that he's been able to take, getting better and better in the ring, great promos, man of a few words, love that, great look, great freaking look. If you were a wrestling promoter thinking about starting up your own company and you're trying to figure out who's going to be the face of your company, who's going to be your attraction, yeah, you probably would go with a guy like Braun Strowman, 8 out of 10. So, but let that marinate for a second. This guy's been on the main event scene about almost 2 years. Hasn't touched a belt. But here he is in a position where he very well possibly could become a champion for the very first time since signing with the WWE. A good deal, a good long-term deal, if you want to call it that, or just being part of the main event picture. What does that remind you of when it's all said and done? Just really stop and think about that. What does that kind of remind you of, if anything at all? Well, I don't know. I mean, I look at how much the fans reacted to Braun over these past several months leading up to now, and I find it interesting how the fans are for this guy. But then you go over to the other side, bearing in mind what we had got later on, that same episode of Monday Night Raw. Of course, I'm talking about John Cena colliding with Roman Reigns. Kurt Angle setting up the proper introduction for John Cena, saying that he is the newest addition to Monday Night Raw. Cena saying one of the main reasons why he's back on Monday Night Raw is to call out a particular superstar. There's somebody on the roster that he's been eyeballing for a long time, and that superstar is one of the reasons why he's back on Monday Night Raw. Well, it would be no other than Roman Reigns. And the crowd pretty much let their displeasure be known with both of these guys. You had the Cena sucks chants. You had boos for John Cena, heckling for John Cena. Ditto for Roman Reigns, and the fans just were not gravitating towards this. You know it's bad when you have the crowd, and I love that New York crowd. I've always been a fan of New York, got a couple of friends in New York, love visiting New York every chance that I get. Leave it to that smart New York crowd, and I say smart in a very respectful way. I'm not saying that in a markish type of way or smart type of way, just smart in general. I love that the crowd chanted, "You both suck." They actually chanted, "You both sucked," to both men. What are the odds of that happening? And what was supposed to be a moment like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, or like Undertaker taking on Shawn Michaels first time at WrestleMania, what was supposed to be another iconic moment, ended up just basically coming up flat on so many levels. I'm very curious how the reaction is going to be for both of these men going into the next batch of Monday Night Raws. Because some would make the argument that was just a New York deal. I beg to differ. I truly believe that we are at that point right now where the fans, say what you will, but they just feel as though too much time, too much money, too many resources has been given to guys like John Cena and Roman Reigns, and they want to move past that. Just really stop and let that marinate. Why do you think it is that fans are so hyped for Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, yet you look at Roman Reigns, John Cena, two men, mind you, two men who go in that ring every single night. Whatever is asked of them to do, they do it. Saw an interesting stat about Roman Reigns the other day, having accumulated the most pay-per-view defeats. Like, you hear that interesting stat, and bear in mind, proof is in the pudding, because who was it that got pinned at SummerSlam in that Fatal 4-Way? It was Roman Reigns. So, here is a guy just like John Cena, goes in, night out, busts his ass, whatever is asked of him to do, he does the damn thing. First one in the arena, last one to leave out of the arena. Everything you would want in a superstar. Everything you would want if you were a promoter starting up your own company and you're going, who's going to be the face of my company? And you have this great, good-looking Samoan guy, part of a historic family, right? Cousins with one of the most electrifying men in all of sports and entertainment, right? Why would you not want a guy like that representing your company? Definitely will bring the asses to the seats. Same thing made about John Cena. You can make the same argument literally like John Cena. The only difference is John Cena is slowly on his way out, whereas Roman Reigns has at least, and that is if he can continue to stay healthy, he has at least a good 8 years, 10 if he's lucky, but 8 years for sure under his belt remaining with the WWE. And the fans just did not want to have any of it. Roman has done a lot more losing when it counts the most. Roman has done a lot more losing. He's had a lot more growing pains than John Cena. But then some would make the argument, nah, Lee, Roman hasn't even begun to scratch the surface of that John Cena heat. But I tell you what was really disappointing and what should have been a really great moment, a iconic moment in Roman Reigns, John Cena colliding face to face and all that.
basically for the very first time in the standpoint of given where both men are in their respective careers right now, because this is Roman Reigns like post-Shield, right? First time like post-Shield. What made it like come up so flat for me was the fact that you have John Cena, and I've never liked this about John Cena. It is so freaking irritating. I know my good friend, my occasional broadcast partner, and Titus Machiavelli, he is a big John Cena fan. Me and him have had some heated debates about John Cena over the years. But I tell you, right when I start to come around and give John Cena praise, he says and or does things in that ring that just makes my skin frickin' crawl. And what made my skin crawl this week was I didn't like how he tried to downplay, tried to inadvertently degrade Roman Reigns. Point being, you have both of these men in the ring. The fans are booing Roman Reigns as he makes his way to the ring after his entrance plays and all that. John Cena takes a microphone, and I will give Cena that much credit. When he hears the reactions that he's getting from the crowd, he plays off of it beautifully. Cena is one of those guys you will never, and that is something you just cannot teach. You just got to have that natural gift of the jab, gift of the mouth, right? You just got to have it. You can't teach it whatsoever. And that's whenever a situation occurs where you think just possibly the crowd is hijacking a segment for themselves. Cena is one of those rare guys that's able to not only acknowledge what the crowd is saying, but he's always able to brilliantly play off of it and react to it in such a clever way. So you have this segment, and John Cena hears the boos coming to Roman Reigns, and he says, but wait, this is Mr. Roman Reigns, everybody. So the way he said that, very sarcastic, I really didn't like that. It kind of seemed like he was dumbing down his opponent, so to speak. Roman Reigns continues to keep that cool, badass demeanor, a man of few words, basically saying, hey, I'm here standing right in front of you. Every time you're running your mouth about me, you're on Twitter. Won't you try saying that to my face? Roman, a man of very few words. Cena coming right back. Well, I didn't come here to talk. Drops his mic, takes his t-shirt off, but he just has this irritating smirk on his face. You're like, I can't really get into this. What the hell? Leave it to The Miz to come out. If there is a unsung hero for this week, that's what we're going to do from now on going forward. Doesn't matter what the wrestling promotion is. If I'm watching it and I feel there's an unsung hero for the week, I'm going to give them that prop. I'm going to give them that acknowledgement. The unsung hero for this week is The Miz. I got to tell you, I really loved how he went out there and how he owned that segment. If there was any time, any place for The Miz to come out there and make his presence felt, let his voice be heard, that Monday Night Raw was, you couldn't have written that better given the location that they were in and the type of crowd. For The Miz to go out there and basically say, you two guys, how many more freaking opportunities are you guys going to continue to get? Meanwhile, here I am. I've been busting my ass for 12 freaking years. 12 freaking years. Where is my moment? Where is my opportunity? And I tell you, you just couldn't help but go, how much of that is a shoot and how much of that was scripted? I mean, I tell you, Miz is one of those guys, long as you give him just one or two crumbs of a bullet point and you tell him to paint it however he wants to paint it, but those are his bullet points, that man always goes out there and hits a freaking home run. Miz is, I have always felt this way, Miz is at his very best when he is not restricted. And the proof is in the pudding. You go back and you look at that promo that he cut on Roman and Cena Monday night. That matches up to the Miz that we were getting on Smackdown before he came on back to Raw a couple of months ago. That's the Miz that we were getting on Talking Smack, that was making Talking Smack must-see for a lot of people. His interactions with Daniel Bryan alone was the stuff of dreams that were made of, right? So, to see the Miz come out there and really own that, I would like to believe that maybe a Vince McMahon or a Triple H is going, you know what, man, 12 years is a long time. This guy has really been turning it around. Maybe we should give this guy another opportunity. I want to see Miz get back to good. And I tell you, he is my unsung hero for this week, because leave it to him to go out there and basically save that segment. I don't think we're going to have enough of my colleagues that's really going to be able to think the way I'm presenting this to you. But I really want you guys to stop and really think about this for a minute. You did not hear the fans at any point chant for John Cena and Roman Reigns, who were in the ring together, one-on-one. For them, this was not a moment. Is it a moment? Yeah, it is a moment. That's the sad part. It is a moment. It doesn't quite feel like a moment, but it actually is a moment. But the fans, at least in New York, could not give a rat's ass. And they were so disgusted. They were so peed off by what they were seeing. Had the Miz not come out and saved that segment, I don't know. Maybe there would have been beach balls and everything else being played with in that freaking arena. But Miz, for sure, the unsung hero for that segment. But interesting, night and day when you really think about it. You had Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman. That moment went over like butter on toast. Cena, Roman, not so much. Very rough around the edges. Very rough. Now, going forward, if I can make a couple of suggestions to the WWE to really entice this, to really spice this up, to really jazz it up. If you're really trying to get Roman Reigns over with the fans, first off, let's tackle one elephant in the room. Does Roman Reigns need to go the heel route? No. I know a lot of people would like to see that happen, but when it's all said and done, that honestly is just going to put us like right back at square one, so to speak. No, I think it's a cop-out, honestly. You, me, everybody else, we can play creative booking one-on-one with Roman Reigns for hours and how and why he needs to go heel, but just looking at things from a much grander perspective. John Cena, a couple of years away from just completely phasing out of the WWE. I believe he's always going to have a relationship with the WWE. I truly believe that he will have a job with WWE for life. When he is done with in-ring competition, I have a very strong feeling that him, Triple H, Vince McMahon, I have a feeling they're going to be sitting down in the very near future and having John Cena make the transition into management / personnel. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe John Cena tries a hand. Who knows? If not booking matches, maybe he might try to be one of the writers. Who knows? But I definitely see a spot on the management side of things for Cena whenever he says, you know what, I'm done with the in-ring stuff. But keeping all of that in mind, Roman Reigns going the heel route, it's not going to happen for the simple fact, you know how much money that man makes off of his merchandise for the WWE. You know how much in high demand this guy is for whether it's Make-A-Wish or when it comes to anything PR related. The guy is great with interviews. He's great with TV appearances, you name it. No, you want to continue to build off of that. Great marketing this guy has. So, honestly, and look, come on now. Kids of all ages love the guy. Women of all ages, girls of all ages love this guy. Amongst the men, honestly, I would think if you're 30 plus, you're probably not going to be feeling Roman Reigns for various reasons, which reminds me, we got to talk about something hilarious later on during the show. I do want to talk about that Sports Illustrated thing that had Roman Reigns take a shot at all the wrestling fans. That made my day when I saw that, and I just couldn't help but go, what a poor misrepresentation. But I'll get into that later on in the show. But, so no, I don't see a situation occurring where Roman is going to go heel. So again, coming back full circle, how do you have Roman Reigns go over with the crowd for this potential John Cena matchup, which is probably going to be one of 3 epic encounters between these two men? The tone that you have to set. I would basically pull a page out of the very first encounter that John Cena and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have. Or had, rather. That's the direction that I would go. Let Roman Reigns come out there. Let him take those cheap shots at John Cena. Let him rip into John Cena. Let Roman Reigns say to John Cena, you know what, man? Can't help but remember you be that same cat that was disrespecting my cousin, The Rock, a couple of years back. Talking about how he turned his back on the WWE because he wanted to go have a career in Hollywood and all that. And man, look at where we are now. You're barely here in the company, man. You might be here for maybe about 2 months and then you're off again. What? Filming some wannabe Biggest Loser series? If you're not doing that, maybe you all filming some movie. It's like, but you're not really here. I'm the one that's here, putting in all my time, all my energy. I'm doing this day in and day out. And unlike you, I could care less what these people have to say about me. I could care less. I don't give a damn what these people say about me. I do what I need to do. At the end of the day, it's all about me, myself, and I. You know, if he basically would go into Cena just like that. Now I know some people would be like, yeah, but Lee, we don't need a carbon copy ripoff from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson taking on Cena that first go round. No. On the contrary, folks, I agree with you. You don't need to have it be an exact carbon copy, but that is enough of a blueprint to go off of to really make this be an enticing matchup that fans could actually get behind. I look at it no different. If I were to kind of make a comparison in the direction that WWE writers / creative should go with this, does anybody remember? I'll give you a good example. Picture John Cena, if you will, the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis. Peaceful guy, trying to do everything he can to represent his people, not rocking the boat, not trying to push up against the system. Everybody loves the guy. He's somewhat the people's champion, if you will. He can never do no wrong. When it counts the most and you have to push the envelope a little bit, you gotta rock the boat a little bit, bring action to some type of cause or whatever. For the most part, in Joe Louis's career, he always played it right down the middle. Always played it right down the middle. A very quiet man. Yeah, very quiet man. When it counted the most, some people would say that when it came to race relations, the Brown Bomber really was not outspoken. Because among some people, if he would have been outspoken, he would have been deemed a radical, if you will. He would have ignited race wars, things of that nature. That's just what some people would have said. That's the honest truth. But then you have a guy come along like a Muhammad Ali. Now, I'm not saying Roman Reigns is Muhammad Ali, but from a showman standpoint, everything that's asked of him to do, he goes out there, he does it. He never puts on a dull matchup. Some people could say, well, is it all really on Roman Reigns, or does a lot of it have to do with his dance partner? I think it's a combination of all of those things, but ultimately, what kind of Roman Reigns are you going to get that's going to show up for that particular match that night? Are you going to get a Roman Reigns that just wants to phone it in and let his opponent carry him through most of the match? Or are you going to get a Roman Reigns that wants to go out there, bust his ass, make his opponent look really good, get himself over in the process? Which Roman are you going to get? And for the most part, it's been the latter with Roman Reigns. Typically, his matches, from what I've seen, the guy averages at least 3.5 out of 5. Many, many times I've seen him deliver a 4-star match. I have yet to see a 5-star match from Roman Reigns. I have yet to see a 5-star match. So, you got a guy like Roman Reigns that's kind of coming up like a Muhammad Ali. He's a showman. He's outspoken. He speaks his mind. He speaks his piece. If he has a problem with the system, he's not afraid to not only speak on it, but put a little bit of a shock, if you will, to the system. You have a guy like Joe Louis that doesn't like the fact that Muhammad Ali is so outspoken and he's talking about race relations in the USA. Basically, Joe Louis says to Muhammad Ali, hey man, don't you know our people got a good thing going on? Like, don't say all that. Why don't you be a good black person? Why don't you be a good colored person and just keep quiet? And Muhammad Ali is like, nah, brother. The injustice, all the craziness that's going on in this society right now, we as African Americans, we as black people, we deserve better than this. We deserve better than how we're being treated right now. And you know what, man? If you're not about this cause, if you want to continue to play it quiet and you want to act like nothing's going on, then that's on you, man. But me, I'm going to pick up this torch and I'm going to lead the way. Either you're going to be with me or you're going to be behind me, but you ain't telling me what to do. So if they could kind of go in that direction, not from the racial standpoint, you see what I'm saying, folks? But if they can just go from that standpoint of Roman Reigns acknowledging how cartoon kiddie-ish John Cena has been, for all of these years, and how he basically let the system dictate his lifestyle, his demeanor, blah, 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 that he's gotten soft. When it's all said and done, he's gotten soft. I would like to see something like that play about. Now, I'm not really sure if the end result would be a John Cena taking a defeat at the hands of Roman Reigns, because make no mistake about it, first encounter, I'm having John Cena lose to Roman Reigns. Or maybe you do a count out, or maybe somebody interferes, and who knows. But if I could have it my way first go around, I actually would have Roman Reigns pick up the W. Another thing that stood out to me from Monday's WWE Raw was the Brooklyn street fight between Big Cass, Enzo Amore. We actually saw Enzo Amore pick up the victory as a result of a freak accident that had occurred with Big Cass. I actually watched it a couple of times. Typical big man looking for a big boot, and the other opponent is basically holding on to that top rope to make that big guy go over the rope. They do it right. They pretty much land on their butt/hip area, so to speak. Typical. Just a typical spot. And a freak accident happened where Big Cass messed up his knee really bad. And there's no telling how long this guy is potentially going to be out. I'm hoping it's not as serious as it had looked on TV, but he definitely had suffered a legit injury. And you just feel bad for the guy. I mean, I've been staying on top of this since the news had first broke out, and I'm not seeing anything right now. I'm hoping that is maybe a good sign. Maybe he just needs to be off his feet for a couple of weeks. I pray that the man doesn't need to get surgery, because if he does need to get surgery, talk about a devastating blow. I mean, this guy just broke up from Enzo Amore a couple of weeks back. WWE, no doubt about it, they see a really bright career ahead for this guy as far as being a singles competitor goes. And for this to happen, the timing, it definitely sucks. Legitimately, the timing freaking sucks. So hopefully it's not as bad as we think it to be. I would like to have a new update for you guys right now, but I would imagine at this point he is maybe down in Alabama getting some x-rays done, seeing what exactly had went down, and then from there seeing what his options are. Enzo Amore, on the other hand, he has moved on. He is no longer on the Raw brand, it looks like. Well, he maybe will be on the Raw brand, but maybe not as much. As in case you had missed it, Enzo Amore had popped up at the end of 205 Live this week to confront the, and still, Cruiserweight Champion Neville. So that may explain why Neville had won the Cruiserweight Championship belt back at SummerSlam last weekend, is because they're setting everything up for a program with him and Enzo Amore. Look, we heard about rumblings of Enzo possibly going to 205 Live for quite some time now. If you ask me straight up how I feel about this, I think it's a good move, especially given the fact that, honestly, you didn't need Enzo Amore when you had Austin Aries, but things didn't quite work out with Austin Aries, as he's done with the WWE. So you got the next best thing, which is Enzo Amore. He's never going to be in a position, I don't think no matter how much heat Enzo Amore gets he's always still going to be a part of the Raw brand because there is a decent amount of money that can still be made off of this man until proven otherwise. And to see him get involved in the Cruiserweight division on 205 Live, I think it's a smart move because honestly, this is a guy, let's really be for real. In-ring ability-wise, he's not a Daniel Bryan. He's not a Shawn Michaels. He puts on a okay match. It's not the way he wrestles, his in-ring style, his in-ring ability. It is not a situation where you gotta stop what you're doing and watch Enzo. It's not one of those type of matchups. A scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the awesome sauce. In-ring ability-wise, I would have to honestly put Enzo at probably a 6. And I'm being modest. I'm really tempted to say a 5, but I'm really being modest right now. I think all of the guys on the 205 roster, as far as in-ring ability goes, 10 times better than this guy. 10 times better than this guy. But sadly, the one-up he has over them is the charisma, the mic work, which for a lot of those 205 guys, they are really lacking. So for him to be now part of the 205 Live roster, I think it's a really smart move, but it's got to be a smart move from the standpoint of Enzo elevating the rest of the talent. It doesn't quite make sense to have it be a situation where Enzo is just feuding with Neville, and that's pretty much it. I mean, now more than ever, you got to have the rest of the roster build off from Enzo being part of 205. So otherwise, it's just a waste. So I know WWE recently had signed Lio Rush. Honestly, I'm hoping that maybe in the very near future, maybe we could see Lio Rush get in there. Maybe he takes on Enzo. Me personally, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I definitely need to see a lot more in the coming weeks from 205 Live. I mean, for now, I'm down for Enzo Amore Neville feud. That's going to be great, but I think what we all as fans really need to be thinking about is, okay, well, what about after? What if after Enzo becomes Cruiserweight Champion from defeating Neville? What happens after that? Where do you go now? What is the long-term plan?
If you're struggling with drug or alcohol or even prescription drug use, Harvey House Manor can help you. The Harvey House Manor is a drug and alcohol licensed facility that is monitored by the state of California. They have certified counselors that provide therapy on a daily basis. Activities include art therapy, anger management, relapse prevention, just to name a few. Harvey House Manor provides meals, transportation services, activities within the sober community such as beach outings, bowling, and various barbecues. To reach an intake counselor, please call toll-free 1-800-953-1383. Again, toll-free at 1-800-953-1383. Also on Facebook and Instagram at The Harvey House Manor. Once again, The Harvey House Manor. Do you love the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders? Then support the show that's currently ranked in the top 10 shows on Spreaker.com in the wrestling category, on Patreon.com, and get exclusive access to new original content, including our 30 with Lee series, bonus and vintage RCWR episodes, exclusive guest interviews, prize giveaways, online community chat, live show call-in features, and so much more. Support the RCWR Show on Patreon.com/RCWR RCWR Show. Once again, that's patreon.com/RCWR Show. The RCWR Show with Lee Sanders, entertaining you since 2011. Are you tired of being denied the things you need in life due to poor credit? Call Back on Track Financial Services. They work with you to rebuild a strong credit file and remove inaccurate, erroneous, negative items from your credit report. Contact them today for a free consultation and let them get you back on track. Back on Track Financial Services. Toll free 1-800-451-0993. Once again, that's 1-800-451-0993. One more time, 1-800-451-0993. Back on Track Financial Services. Welcome back to the RCWR Show. Hey, want to just give you guys a quick heads up. For those of you that may be a little bit curious what I thought about the NXT Takeover event, have I got a special treat for you guys. There is about almost 50 minutes of audio that I did of the Takeover event. I gave my reactions. It was an after show. I would say honestly it was probably like about an hour after Takeover aired initially on the WWE network, and that was only because I watched NXT Takeover when it aired initially, and then I pretty much had to get ready for work that respected Saturday night. So once I got situated at work, everything was nice and secured, on point for the night, then I went on ahead and recorded my thoughts about the pay-per-view event, or the WWE Network event, I should say, because that does not air on pay-per-view, the NXT specials, that is. So for those of you that are curious about what I thought of the event, for the very first time, we're going to be releasing that on demand and on the downloads. It's going to be attached to the end of this very episode. You guys will thoroughly enjoy it, and I think it fits very well into some of the recent developments that came about from Raw and Smackdown programming for this week. So you guys will definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, you guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up for the Patreon account. Our Patreon account, that is, patreon.com/RCWR Show, because I'm releasing a lot of exclusive content. Now, the way I have it set up right now is for just $1. Anytime I talk about NXT Takeover, or if I decide I want to do a exclusive new edition of the RCWR Show, it could even be like a companion piece episode of the RCWR Show to, like, say, for example, it could be a companion to this episode that you're listening to in its entirety right now. Maybe I decide I want to do like a little bit of a companion piece, but it's only going to be available exclusively to our Patreon members. For just $1, you'll always be able to access that exclusive new edition of the RCWR Show and any NXT Takeover coverage I do, whether I'm reviewing an episode of NXT or I decide I want to review an NXT Takeover event. You'll always get first dibs that way. Will the audio eventually be released? It really depends. As far as the NXT stuff goes, it depends. It really depends. But I definitely had wanted to release the Takeover event on the downloads on demand to you guys. So again, really hope you guys enjoyed. Sign up. I mean, so far we got like 4 Patreons total, and you don't have anything to lose but a lot to gain. At the $5 tier, you pretty much get access to all that. You'll also be able to get access to priority messaging as far as if you have a question, comment you want me to tackle on the show. You'll also have the capabilities of joining in as a co-host for one of the episodes, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's actually not part of the tier package, but I think for a limited time, I'll maybe for the month of September, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably offer that. But yeah, man, check it out. Really cool stuff. And hey, I do appreciate those of you that have been my Patreons for this month. Shout out to, and I'm talking about the month of August, shout out to Reza. Shout out to, shout out to John Davis. Shout out to Kingsley.
There's one more person I am forgetting, and that freaking sucks because I don't have the list in front of me. But I promise you all, we have a new month that's coming. All the Patreons will be recognized during the second week of September. I promise you all. So nice to give you guys shout outs. But for those of you that have been doing your little part, chipping in a little something for show expenses, trust me, it really does help. Might not be that much, but when it just continues to add up after a couple of months and it goes untouched, it makes a serious dent as far as what all I'm trying to do. Trust me. And it's actually because of the Patreons that come September, I'm actually going to be able to finally go on ahead and launch our own RCWR Show app on iOS and Android. So you guys got to pat yourselves on the back for that one. Couldn't have done it without you guys. So, hey, before we go any further into the show, I definitely want to send my heartfelt condolences to Dana Brooke. I know there's been times on this show where I have ripped into her gimmick and I've posed the question, what the hell is she? What's going on? And she's coming along. I must admit, she has been coming along. Still has a long ways to go, but she's coming along. But aside from that, because I am just talking about from a professional standpoint, what I see of her in the ring, what I see of her on my TV every single week. Just putting that to the side. On a personal note, I want to send nothing but thoughts and condolences to her, as her boyfriend had shockingly passed away at a very young age. And I know when the reports had first came out, a lot of people were kind of like, wait a minute, what the hell? Like, what the hell exactly happened right here? Well, that doesn't make any sense. But it was freaky. It was freaky. He was a well-known bodybuilder. His name was Dallas Big Country McCarver. And he was a big dude. I mean, you guys got to see the pictures of this guy. I tell you, if it was any other time frame in the WWE, Vince McMahon probably would have like, bring me that big muscled man right now. But he was a well-known bodybuilder. He was found dead at at only the age of 26 in his home this past Monday after he apparently choked on food. Yes, the man had choked on food. So in his memory, Dana Brooke said that she had planned to start up a non-profit in his memory. And if I'm not mistaken, she has actually gotten it going. And I think there is a certain goal she's trying to reach, or maybe it's a Kickstarter that she had launched. I don't really exactly have the information in front of me. You guys got to forgive me for that, because I've had a pretty hectic, crazy week. I'm just going off of memory offhand, but nothing but thoughts and condolences to her. Seen a few pictures of them on Instagram and other forms of social media, and they genuinely seem like they were a really nice, sweet couple. Just sad, just very, very sad, especially at that age. When you're at that age, you're kind of at that point where you're like, okay, you know what? Now I'm kind of thinking about starting up my own family. I'm thinking about getting married. I'm finally thinking about bumping an apartment. I want to actually own my own home. You just start making plans for basically when you're going into your 40s, because at that point it's really time for you to make sure that you're financially starting to have not only stability, but that you're being responsible in all mediums. You feel where I'm coming from, folks? But yeah, he passed away Monday, early Tuesday morning, apparently choking on his food at his home down in Florida. And they did the funeral for McCarver on Saturday. And again, nothing but thoughts and condolences, seriously. Will that change how I feel about Dana Brooke as far as what I see of her character on TV? Just because of what recently had happened, I will still give that constructive criticism. I'm not going to do like some people and just bitch. I'll make my point. I'll do my best to back up my point, but in no type of form. And I'm saying this because we have a lot of people, especially when you hear news like this with regards to Dana Brooke, so many people think, man, you're being an asshole. Oh, man, you're being a troll right now. And no, I don't want people to think that way going forward. And I have a feeling I'm probably going to have to reiterate, but hey, an update on Big Cass. He did undergo successful surgery this past week. He did it on Thursday night, according to WWE.com. The surgery was performed by Dr. Jeffrey Douglas, and Cass has already begun his rehabilitation. He suffered a torn ACL. I repeat, he suffered a torn ACL during that Brooklyn Street fight against Enzo Amore this past week on Monday Night Raw. And the way it's looking right now, Big Cass is going to be out of action for up to 9 months. I repeat, Big Cass is going to be out of action for up to 9 months. So you talk about a serious, significant blow to the career of this young man that was just starting to find himself. He was just starting to find his identity and find his way through this character that he and the booking team and the writers were all like brainstorming over. Significant blow. Nothing but thoughts and prayers to him, as I wish to Big Cass a speedy recovery. Take it one day at a time, my friend. Do not rush it. Just really take your time. Be more concerned about strengthening, leg strengthening, everything, the whole 9 yards. I really hope this isn't the case. And on a much light-hearted note, I really hope this isn't a case where 9 months down the road, Big Cass comes back, first night back on Monday Night Raw, and he's involved in some type of a tag match or whatever. 30 seconds after he gets tagged in, he's going off of the ropes looking for a clothesline, and wham! All of a sudden, the other knee goes out, and it's another fucking torn ACL. Reminiscence of a Kevin Nash, right? If anybody knows a thing or two about torn ACLs, quads, and all that, it's definitely Kevin Nash, who's in double digits, man. Hey, I had actually checked out the Conor McGregor taking on Floyd-Mayweather fight. I gave instant reactions about that event. Believe it or not, I actually was able to watch it at work. I thought for sure I was going to be able to, in some shape or form, maybe just see it at the local bar that is there at my place of work, but they were not, because I had a conversation with one of the managers from a couple of weeks back, and I was like, are you guys showing the fight? And he was like, my God, man, that would be freaking awesome if we were able to show the fight, because we'd make a ton of good money off of it, wouldn't we? I said, yeah, but then at the same time, we got to think about the licensing fees and all that. Not to mention, we're going to have patrons that aren't doing business with us that see the fight playing on the TV, and they're watching from the outside, and they're like getting their fix that way. Nah, that just really wouldn't work out. So, 9 times out of 10, we're probably not going to watch the fight. But I actually had spoke with a couple of coworkers Saturday night that actually saw the fight at the bar, and the way they had did it, I'm under the impression there was a closed off area that was basically employees only. And that's how they were able to watch the fight, because one of the employees that came from the bar, he was like, hey, dude, did you see the fight? I said, did I? And we talked for a couple of minutes. But if you all want to get my initial reactions on the fight, it's actually available on the YouTube channel right now, youtube.com/the RCWR Show. I talked about the fight for like about 15 minutes, but definitely coming up this Tuesday night, I have a lot more to say with regards to that fight. But I basically gave instant reactions. It was funny because I could have kept going. The goal was to really go in depth about it for like about 25 minutes, but my coworker actually distracted me at one point, and we were live on the air. So luckily, I must say, that was like probably the first time I ever had somebody not necessarily interrupt a live stream, but
it was definitely a nice, fun moment. It's nice to know that I can keep going despite many distraction or whatever. All right, so other than that, I got to tell you, man, I have really been impressed with what I have been seeing from GFW IMPACT the past several weeks. I don't get to talk about GFW IMPACT enough, even though I'm watching the product every week, and that's because honestly I have such a hectic schedule. But all that's going to change, because what I have been seeing from GFW IMPACT so far, I got to tell you, ever since they hooked up with Pop TV, I've been loving it. And yeah, you know what? I will go on record and say they have lost some significant talents left and right. They have been going through some significant growing pains in recent months, especially when you just look at all the people that they've lost. They have lost so many people this calendar year, as far as the talent deciding, you know what, I don't want to renew, I just want to go elsewhere, or hey, look, I know I signed a contract with you guys, but I want out. What's up? Can I get out of my contract? Like, they have gone through so much this calendar year, especially with all the crap that's been going on with Alberto El Patron and his girl Paige. It's not even funny, but somehow they're able to keep on moving on. And I gotta give GFW IMPACT a lot of credit for that. And the shows itself really has been decent. I must say, it has been a really good alternative when I feel as though Raw didn't quite deliver this week. Not so much SmackDown, but I haven't really been, I can't remember the last time I was disappointed with an episode of GFW IMPACT. Now we have the return of Jim Cornette. Fuck you, thank you, bye. I love it. I love the fact that Jim Cornette is back with Impact. Hey, that's a nice little catchphrase. Jim Cornette back with Impact. I don't know, I'm just picturing a shirt and all that all of a sudden. But I love that nice return. Looks like he is some type of a authority figure that is trying his best to shoot it straight down the middle. Having a great mind. Look, Jim Cornette, yes, hands down, one of the best. I mean, if you can't get Paul Heyman and you can't get access to a healthy Bobby the Brain Heenan, freaking Jim Cornette. I mean, my list, the way it would go, if I could have a healthy Bobby the Brain Heenan, he would be number 1. Number 2 would be Paul Heyman. Jim Cornette would be number 3. Eric Bischoff would be number 4. That's my list. I'm sticking to it. I'm not wavering from that. Oh, of course, I got to put my good friend Titus Machiavelli at number 5. Shout out to you, brother. But I tell you, it's great to have a great mind that has an appreciation for the wrestling business, has never shied away from the business, didn't do like some people and was like, okay, I'm just going to go dip into these other projects, I'm done with that, whatever, man. And then years later, I kind of fell back in. No, he has always been consistent. He's always had some type of presence in the sport of professional wrestling. And to have one of the greatest minds in the business that's still alive, mind you, be involved in the business again in a behind-the-scenes capacity, I love it. It is a great boost of morale to the GFW IMPACT roster. It is a great acquisition by Anthem. And I tell you, from what I've been seeing just these past couple of episodes with Jim Cornette returning, I'm loving it. I mean, overall, it just feels like a throwback, if you will, to when Impact was good, when it was really good, almost like the Asylum days again and all that. But like, feel me on this. And I think even the most anti-TNA fans could even admit this, because so many TNA fans are unanimous when they say, oh, it was good back in the Asylum days, right? or it was good before Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff came to the scene. One thing that seems to be unanimous amongst a lot of Impact fans is, hey man, Impact was really on point when it was Jeff Jarrett, Dutch Mantell, Jim Cornette, when all those guys were doing what they needed to do for the betterment of a good product, of executing a really good product. And now that you got all of those great minds under one roof again, I tell you, man, it's really, really been on point. Which brings me to another segue. Shout out to my man Eli Drake, who became the new GFW IMPACT World Heavyweight Champion. Last week's episode, of course, as we all know, GFW Anthem, they had stripped Alberto El Patron of the championship because of shenanigans that was going on in his personal life outside of the business. I think I just heard my girl say yay. I don't think I probably heard that right. Did you say yay because they stripped Alberto El Patron? No. Okay, so she's talking about something else. But no, like, seriously, Eli Drake, this is a guy, when I first saw him, what was that name of that stable that he was in with Drew McIntyre, and it was like Stand Up or whatever that stable was that when they first had popped up in Impact. I took a look at him and I'm going, and he was a lot bigger in a good way at that point. He was much more muscular, much more bulkier at that point. I'm looking at him, and not just physique-wise, but back then he had a really damn good-looking physique. He still has a great physique now that he's toned it down. He's shed off some of that bulk. But back then, you looked at him, and then you heard him talk, and you're like, whoa, damn, this guy's pretty freaking promising. You talk about oozing charismatic. This is a diamond in the rough right here, man. Damn, do this guy well. I'm ecstatic that he's finally being given the opportunity to show the powers that be what he can do. And my message to Eli Drake, not that he needs me to tell him anything, but honestly, you know, and it's just good, friendly advice. Eli Drake, my man, enjoy this moment right now. Ride that son of a bitch out, because you just don't know how many of these opportunities are going to come your way, right? So really cherish these moments right now and do not get stressed out, man. So many times we've seen situations over the years where somebody has been made a champion and they cringe, they flop. They come up flat on their face because they choke on the opportunity. And you know, and I can kind of understand it from a business standpoint, because they want to make sure that they're doing everything right, that they are on point on so many levels, and they're listening to all these different people. It's like, no, don't do this, do that, don't do this, do that. And it's like, don't do them, do you. I'm not saying be an asshole in the process, but, you know, just think about what got you to the dance, and if anything, remember that, hold on to it, let it catapult you to that next level. I've always been a firm believer that the chase is better than the catch, because once you've chased it and you've caught it, honestly, that's where the real challenge begins. The chase is always great, but once you're at the top and you've got the catch, what are you gonna do at that point? That's when it becomes 2 times harder. So I can't stress it enough for those of you Impact fans that for a long time you've been wanting to see Eli Drake get the opportunity. Now more than ever, now that you know what's going on with him, represent, buy his merchandise on the ImpactWrestling.com website. When Impact is coming to your neck of the woods, go represent. Let your presence be felt on social media, tweeting about the guy and everything like that. When it's all said and done, they're going to see all that. They're going to be able to take all that in And that counts on so many levels. So again, big shout out to Eli Drake. I'm ecstatic that he is the new GFW IMPACT champion. Long time coming. While I'm giving shout outs, I also got to give a shout out to one of my Twitter followers. Loved interviewing the guy. One of these days, need to have him back on the show. Shout out to my man, Brodus Clay, aka Tyrus, who asked for his GFW IMPACT Wrestling release from the company. Honestly, they just did not utilize this man properly from the get-go. They did not. And it was one of those mind-boggling, head-scratching moments, because it's like, okay, you're able to sign this guy fresh off of his release from the WWE. If there was some type of a non-compete clause in his contract, it might have been for like about 90 days or whatever. But like, you're able to acquire this guy. You saw the work that he was doing down in NXT, and I think honestly, if things would have continued to roll out the way it was going in NXT, I have a feeling he would have eventually become NXT World Heavyweight Champion. Because you guys got to remember, one of the last things that he was doing down there in NXT before he got released, he was feuding with Neville. And it was a damn good program, mind you. But they get him, and they just go, alright, we're going to make you a bodyguard. He was a bodyguard for EC3 for the longest time. Then he was a bodyguard for Eli Drake. And he rarely did shit. Not his choice. Not by his design. Hell, Brodus Clay was getting more play popping up on whatever that political show is that he be popping up on from time to time. I usually watch some of his snippets, just what he does on that show, and I've liked it. He's gotten more play, more action when he was doing shoot interviews and all that other jazz. It just really felt as though he wasn't properly being utilized in the company. So it's like, and you know what? Kudos to Brodus. Kudos to Brodus for basically Tyrus. I know him as Brodus because of WWE, but Tyrus, Brodus, however you want to refer to him, I just think that honestly, kudos to him for sticking to his principle and saying, you know what, if these guys aren't going to properly utilize me, then what the hell is the point? Like, I got my money. I've got this itch. I want to be in the ring. I want to be competing. I want to be about checks and championships. What the hell? So shout out to him. I know he's going to bounce back. Honestly, at this point, he would probably do really well for himself. He would probably do very well for himself on the independents. So, you know, hey, best of luck to my man. So, other than that, and while I'm continuing to give shout outs, a speedy recovery to Asuka, who had to vacate the NXT Women's Championship last week in a segment that's going to be airing this coming Wednesday on the WWE Network. She had suffered a collarbone injury during her match with Amber Moon at TakeOver Brooklyn 3 last week. Now, it's being noted that the way things are going about right now is, and I tell you, this is what makes this so awesome. Give it to Triple H and crew to figure this out and just, okay, we're really going to make this interesting then. It's being reported that WWE has strongly discussed having the winner of the Mae Young Classic to be crowned the new NXT Women's Champion. So the finals are going to be taking place live from Las Vegas, Nevada on Tuesday, September 12th at 10 p.m. Eastern after Smackdown goes off the air that night. Now, I have not read the spoilers. I will be sitting down. I will be between now and this coming Tuesday show. I will be looking at the bracket. I will be doing my research on the wrestlers, and I'm going to fill out the bracket, the bracket exactly the way I would like it to play out. And as far as the finals go, but without a doubt, Asuka is going to be heading to the main roster as NXT General Manager William Regal had noted that he is negotiating with Raw and SmackDown to bring her to one of those brands. And it's being estimated right now Asuka's going to be out of action for at least the next 6 to 8 weeks. So, honestly, you all are finally getting your wish. There were a lot of you guys that was like, Asuka, man, she's got to come up, And I told you guys, hey, I'm not in a rush to see her go up to the main roster, because now more than ever, we've seen some flops for some of the NXT talents. But I tell you, with what all is going on in recent months, it really seems as though the NXT talents that are coming up, there is more of a well thought out plan and more of a well thought out execution. I will definitely admit that. Now, if you were to ask me straight up, which side should Asuka go, I'm just looking at the current landscape of both brands right now, and honestly, I think SmackDown is doing just fine. I personally feel she would do superbly well on SmackDown. I'm just thinking about feuding with Natty. I'm also thinking about feuding with Charlotte. Those two alone would be really freaking awesome. But, I'm looking more over on the Raw SmackDown side of things. And things really seem to be hurting over there right now. I mean, look, no disrespect to Sasha Banks. 4 times women's champion. That's great and everything. But, I'm just not... what's the plan, WWE? What is the actual plan for Sasha Banks? I really hope that they have some type of a short-term plan for Sasha Banks as the champion right now. Because I tell you, the momentum was more so with Alexa Bliss. And I'm really just perplexed that the powers that be didn't continue to ride Alexa Bliss, because she just has that great, from all the people I've spoken with, a lot of people have said to me, Lee, oh my God, Alexa Bliss, she's got that natural heat. She's got that nice, good pint size heat. She's doing a really good job. She's really one of the best aside from Charlotte. So, I'm surprised that they didn't continue to ride that out. I'm not really sure what to make still of a Sasha Banks WWE Women's Championship run right now. I need to continue to see where it goes. Bayley is continuing to struggle. I'm not sure what exactly is going on with Nia Jax, but I think honestly, Asuka is I see great marketability with Asuka. I've always felt that way. This girl is also undefeated. So, that's some great buzz that's going on right there. I would have Sister pop up on the main roster for Raw. I would love to see her on Raw. I think she would do phenomenally well. Matchups alone with Sasha Banks would be on point. Matchups alone with Nia Jax would be on point. Also looking at an eventual feud with Bayley. I feel that would be on point. Mickie James would definitely, talk about rekindling a rivalry. Everybody remembers that last takeover where those two had locked it up, yeah? So that would be on point as well. But yeah, I just kind of feel as though she'd be better suited for Raw. We're talking about NXT talent. We also saw a really cool moment that came about from SmackDown this week, where we saw the debut of Glorious. Yeah, my man Bobby Roode. And look, this is so hilarious. For the longest time, I, Lee Sanders of the RCWR Show, have been saying, and I've gone on record many times, many times, I have said that Bobby Roode needs to come up to SmackDown. And I'm telling you guys this for a very simple reason. If you don't believe me, one of the very first times that I mentioned Bobby Roode to SmackDown, you can look this up on YouTube right now. I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to type in its search engine box, the RCWR Show mock draft. And it is one of the top 6 videos that you'll see. And it'll read WWE 2016 Draft, Raw vs. SmackDown, brand split booking and predictions mock version. And it's myself and my old broadcast partner, Titus Machiavelli. I think when we did it at that point, I believe that might have been a guest appearance by Titus. I'm pretty sure it was a guest appearance by Titus on that one, because he was no longer full-time co-host at that point. It was like about 58 minutes long, and the way we were going back and forth, people loved it. The comments that we had saw, people were like, "Oh my God, that's on point." Like that's, and I said as early as 2016. Let me give you guys a really good timestamp. I'm seeing that what was published on YouTube was June 27th of 2016. And I said as early as that they needed to have Bobby Roode come over to Smackdown. I BS you not. So you can only imagine how ecstatic I am that Bobby Roode is, 1, finally on the main roster, and 2, he's on Smackdown. A welcome breath of fresh air. Off the break, I'm just thinking about his past history and feud with AJ Styles. That's going to be fantastic. I'm also thinking about an eventual program with Shinsuke Nakamura. That's going to be on freaking point. Looking forward to that. Man, him, Shelton Benjamin, under the right circumstances, I think that's going to be really awesome. Him, Sami Zayn, that's going to be on point. My God, who else do you have on there that's up and coming right now? I could eventually see something maybe with a Baron Corbin or whatever like that. Randy Orton for sure. Randy Orton don't need to go anywhere. Leave Randy Orton on SmackDown. Would love to see something with Randy Orton, Bobby Roode. I mean, the matchups are just endless right now. And I'm telling you, if you're a big fan of Jinder Mahal, you need to be concerned right now, because, and I'm not the only one that's feeling this way. Just coworkers, friends that I've spoken to, when the name Jinder Mahal comes up and we're talking wrestling, yeah, I keep hearing the same thing. Yeah, Lee, Jinder's okay, man. I mean, yeah, the in-ring ability, it's decent. It's definitely decent. Yeah, he's coming along on the promos, man. But like, dude, and it's the same thing. It's all unanimous. I'm waiting for that one career-defining moment where Jinder Mahal has finally arrived in the WWE. Because every single body that I've spoken to, they all pretty much say the same thing. I don't have a problem with him being the WWE champion, and it's nice to try something new, but for me, he hasn't quite arrived yet. He still hasn't okay, he's here. He's finally here. Being crowned the champion is one thing, but to actually arrive is entirely a different story. And I'm paying very close attention between now and October, because as you all know, coming up at what is it? Hell in a Cell is SmackDown's next pay-per-view event. Is going to be Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Jinder Mahal inside Hell in a Cell for the WWE Championship. So a lot can happen, man. I'm really hoping that Jinder really, between now and then, I'm not really sure how the pay-per-view buys are looking right now. Not really sure how the prices are at the ticket gates, but if it's going to be struggling in any type of capacity, my biggest fear is that Shinsuke Nakamura will become the champion, but it's only going to be a transitional thing where, honestly, Bobby Roode could be the one to take the title off of Shinsuke. And if that were to happen, I tell you, that would open up a really nice, interesting world, I personally feel, because you could definitely finally slide in a Sami Zayn if you finally wanted the underdog to finally get his career shining moment, right? AJ Styles. I mean, the combinations are just freaking endless. So, but I'm very happy that Bobby Roode, this is a long time coming. Honestly, I wanted for Bobby Roode to be on the main roster off the break. I wanted him there off the break, but I understood that for the time being down in NXT, he served a purpose, and that's how it is with NXT. You know, I like how they just keep passing the torch. It's like just when you say to yourself, man, what the hell is NXT going to do now? Man, now that they've gotten rid of this talent, they've moved up to the other roster here, the main event roster. What's going to happen now? Somehow it always just continues to evolve and get better and better and better. So yeah, but very ecstatic that Bobby Roode is now part of the main WWE roster brand. And can I go back to Enzo Amore one more time? I know I said what I said about Enzo Amore earlier, but if I could offer some really solid advice, it would definitely be, Enzo, if you truly are ruffling feathers, my brother, I need for you to remember what all pretty much had went down with Austin Aries. Now, granted, Austin Aries is like, hey, I asked for my release, but then you got the other side that's saying WWE went to Austin Aries and said, hey, you mind if we go ahead and release you? You know, honestly, we just think, whatever. You got one person's side of the truth, the other person's side of the truth, and somewhere in the middle, that silver lining that is the absolute truth. We'll never really know. But I would say to Enzo Amore, tread lightly, my friend. Tread lightly, because if any of this stuff that is out there is true, this supposed heat, if any of it is true, now more than ever, this guy needs to be careful. I mean, he's putting pictures of himself out there spending $10,000 to go see the Conor McGregor Floyd-Mayweather fight. Brother, I'd be saving, you know, all the money I can possibly get. And I personally wouldn't be doing all that. I just would not. If that heat is legit, I'm saving up every single penny I can possibly get a hold of, because you just never know. And Enzo seems like, from what I'm able to see of him away from the ring, he seems like a pretty smart guy. I would hope that he's investing his money and he's utilizing the hell out of this opportunity that he has right now, because there's just no telling how long it's going to last. There's just no telling how long it's going to last. So, like the advice I gave with Eli Drake, cherish these moments. I'm not saying be a company man, kiss ass, but at the same time, if you like the lifestyle that you're currently living, don't put yourself in a position where you're jeopardizing your paper. No, sir. I mean, it's as simple as that. That's the philosophy I've lived by for many years now. And if you are going to jeopardize that paper, you make sure that you're putting yourself in a position where you got something 2 times better than what you're doing at that present time. I know I had mentioned that thing about Roman Reigns, Sports Illustrated. I'm actually going to forward that to next week's show. I think probably one of the ways we'll kick off next week's show, if we can tackle some listeners' questions, that would be great. But then afterwards, maybe I can go into something like that. We'll see how it works out. But there are 2 interesting pieces of news I want to dive into before we get ready to wrap it up for tonight. One of them, I guess kayfabe is truly fucking dead, because there was 2 articles that came across my eyes and I just couldn't believe what I was reading. Like many of you, I'm a big fan of reading transcripts of interviews. I just like that more than the audio. I don't know why, but I like it more than the audio. Unless it's a really good interview, then I'm going to go out of my way to check it out. But Braun Strowman did an interview with CBS Sports. Number of topics that were covered, but what was really interesting was his thoughts on Roman Reigns. And I quote, Roman Reigns is, if not the best, one of the best performers in the world, hands down. I don't care what anybody says. He does it night after night, and it doesn't matter who he's with. They tear the place down. I got no problem with what Braun is saying here so far. Lately, it has been me and him blowing the roof off the arena every place we walk into on God's green earth. That's the thing that people just don't get, and that's the work ethic behind Roman Reigns. He's just a tough SOB. I've spent so much time in this program just nailing him, and whether it's stubbornness, stupidity, or heart, he just keeps getting back up, which just keeps giving me a reason to knock him back down. Okay, that's kind of nice, but when it's all said and done, you're complimenting this guy, you're putting him over, and it just kind of made me feel as though kayfabe is dead, because I'm going, wait a minute, you're supposed to be the I'm not finished with you yet. You're supposed to be that guy. You're supposed to be steamrolling, during the fucking competition. You're supposed to be going through the competition. You're not really supposed to be putting over any talent in any type of capacity. So I guess kayfabe, this is a sign that kayfabe is really, really dead. Heels and faces in pro wrestling was another topic that was brought up, and I quote, "That has been brought up before, and I feel like the days of faces and heels are coming to an end. We are two superstars. We are just megastars going out there and doing what we do, which is entertaining. It doesn't matter who you love or who you want to cheer for. At the end of the match, you are on your feet. You are going crazy. You have lost your voice, and we did our job." Yeah. So, I mean, and then another interview that I thought was like, what the fuck, was the joint with Kurt Angle, where he was being asked what did he make of this current story arc involving him being the legitimate parent of Jason Jordan. Jason Jordan being his long lost son and all that. And rather than Kurt Angle say, storyline, what are you talking about? This is the real deal. Kurt Angle just, any opportunity I can have in working with the WWE to help enhance, evolve talent, I'm all fine for it, whatever they need me to do. I must say, when I first heard about it, I was a little bit taken back. I thought for sure we were going to go in the direction of Chad Gable, because he looks more like me for sure, but when they said it was going to be Jason Jordan, I kind of was like, well, that's a new twist. Okay, yeah, sure, what the heck, let's go for it, And I'm just kind of going, man, kayfabe, it's truly dead, man. I know I shouldn't be tripping over that, because it's 2017 and everybody has the type of access that they do nowadays, and they can find out so many things that's going on behind the scenes. It's not even funny, man, but like, I just wish we can. That's why I appreciate guys like Kevin Owens and freaking Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, and Randy Orton to an extent, because they still have that old school mentality. Point being, we see Kevin Owens, he was doing a Q&A stream with WWE Champions, the video game, and the questions that was being thrown to him by the game developers, he was answering them very heel-like. I mean, he was answering the questions, but he was still Kevin Owens. He just does not know how to turn that off. And I just love that about that dude, man. I love that about him. Other than that, there really hasn't been much else that's been happening in headlines since last we were on the air with you guys. So, I mean, we pretty much covered all the bases. The only other things that kind of caught my eye, I know Marvel's Netflix Defenders is out. I'm going to be checking out some episodes of that sometime between tonight and during the rest of the week. Hopefully by this Tuesday, I'll have a little something to say about that. I thought it's kind of interesting that David Hasselhoff, he's been like doing his very best to talk to that one director, Robert Rodriguez, about doing a dark version of Knight Rider. And I'm kind of going, okay, that seems a little interesting, but you do realize we tried to do Knight Rider 2000 and that really didn't go off that well. So like, you think you might be, I get it. I get why David Hasselhoff is kind of like, Robert Rodriguez, you got to make this, man. You got to make this. I get it because I think what ended up happening, David Hasselhoff had probably saw Grindhouse and what was the name of that other one? Def Car, with Kurt Russell. I think it was Death Car. I'm actually typing it in right now. I think it was Death Car, Kurt Russell. Death Proof. Yeah, I wouldn't have remembered it. I had to Google that. And I loved the fuck out of that movie. That movie was freaking tight. I think my man David Hasselhoff has like watched that a couple of times, and he's kind of like, man, can you just imagine like a Knight Rider version? Oh man, Robert Rodriguez would be great if he did like a Knight Rider version. Oh, I can picture it now. Yeah, if that's the direction that he's kind of thinking, I can kind of see it, but that's not what people want. People want the campy, the humor. They want the Knight Rider that they grew up on. Me being that kid from the 80s, that's not the Knight Rider I want to see. If I were to see David Hasselhoff as Michael Knight one more time, I want to see what I basically had got from the freaking 80s. I definitely want to see what I had got from Knight Rider 2000, the movie. So, no, thank you. But speaking of Knight Rider, I'm not sure if you guys were aware of this, and I don't really see enough people talking about this, but there is going to be a Knight Rider movie that supposedly it's being developed as a comedy starring John Cena and Kevin Hart. Yeah. But rather than have a serious approach to it, it's basically supposedly, now take it with a grain of salt, but supposedly it's going to follow in the footsteps of 21 Jump Street, thus making it a action comedy. And John Cena is supposed to be Michael Knight, and Kevin Hart is supposed to be the voice of Kit. Now, Screen Rant is saying that the news on the development for a Knight Rider movie at the Weinstein Company, but they caution that both John Cena and Kevin Hart are not attached to the project, but merely the actors that the studio hopes they can get on board. So, take that for what it's worth, but I mean, that sounds interesting. I must admit, that sounds pretty interesting. That's a nice twist. I gotta admit, I'm not gonna knock it until I see the trailer, because I remember when I saw the Jumanji trailer for like the very first time, the reboot, and I tell you, I love Robin Williams. That's my guy. When I think Jumanji, I think Robin Williams, and I'm like, no, they're doing a remake of Jumanji. Now that he's dead, they can't do the sequel. Man, that's bull. But I gotta tell you, when I saw the trailer for the new Jumanji, I was like, wow, this is, get out of here. Okay, this actually looks pretty damn funny. So, for me, I'm gonna give it the benefit of doubt, and we'll see what happens. There's a couple other topics I want to get into, but quite honestly, we're almost pushing 2 hours, and we still got to do the NXT Takeover joint for you guys. So I'm just going to go on ahead. I'm going to stick a fork in it. I'm going to say it's DONE done. Your next edition of the RCWR Show is going to be coming at you guys in like about 48 hours, man. We're going to drop it for you guys on Tuesday night, August 29th. We'll be coming at you guys live at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm assuming there's not going to be any personal emergency or anything like that I should be able to do this daggone show for you guys. So I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, the way I'm going to probably be setting it up, I'll probably record maybe like up to the first half of the show while I'm at work. And then the second half of the show, I'll basically be on live with you all. We'll be talking about Smackdown and some other cool headlines, man. So any questions you want me to tackle on this coming Tuesday show, you got some comments, some stuff you want me to get into in general, just get at me on Twitter, Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well, at the RCWR Show. Support my Patreon page, patreon.com/RCWR Show. I hope you check out our sponsors for this very episode that you had heard, because they are doing their part in helping us continue to keep the shows free for you all at no cost. So do a solid, go out of your way, check out the people that represented, that are sponsors for this episode. It really means a lot, because honestly, you know, they're doing their part, man. They're paying us for a service to help promote, advertise the heck out of them, and it really means a lot to have you all go out of your way and check them out, because it's a win-win combination, and the longer I can continue to keep these shows free for you guys, the better. So hey, for those of you that's waiting patiently for the NXT Takeover after show, you all will be hearing that right now as I will be loading that up. And get at me on social media. I'd love to know what you had thought about the NXT Takeover event, because I know a lot of you guys were like, Lee, you know, takeover. What's up, man? What's up? So you're gonna hear it, and if you disagree or you agree with a lot of the things that you're gonna be hearing, get at me on social media for sure, and let me hear from you guys. So again, it's going to run about 49 minutes. It's fun. It's definitely insightful. So you got yourself like a 2-hour, 49-minute edition, grand total when it's all said and done for this one. So, all right, guys, I'm going to shut up, load this up. Y'all enjoy, and I will catch you this coming week.
And what is going on, guys? It is the one and only Lee Sanders, and you are checking out a special edition of the RCWR Show. I am on location for this very episode as we are talking WWE NXT Brooklyn Takeover Fallout, coming to us from the Barclays Center in New York for the third consecutive year. Speaking of NXT Brooklyn Takeover, some special RCWR Show news that's going to be coming to you before this episode is over, so make sure you tune in. So I gotta tell you guys off the break, I had the opportunity to watch this live, and I gotta tell you, I'm glad I was able to watch it live on the WWE Network, because initially I was going to pass up on watching this, and instead I was going to end up watching it the next day on demand. But I'm actually glad I had tuned in and checked it out live, because man, oh man, did this takeover event deliver. And I do want to hear from you guys that had saw the NXT Takeover event, as we have our new interactive poll that is going to be out right now for the next couple of days, asking you all, what did you think of NXT Takeover Brooklyn? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or staying in the middle? And so far we have an overwhelming 100%, at least at the time that we're doing this for you all. We are standing strong at 100%, so definitely cast your vote. Twitter at the RCWR Show. Make sure you give me a follow over there as well. Can I just tell you, from the production standpoint, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would have to say, as far as who had the most standout theme entrance for this year's TakeOver event, I got to give it up to Aleister Black. His was definitely the most memorable, having his band that performs his theme song perform. It was pretty badass. I mean, it kind of had a nice combination of Henry Rollins' band meets a little bit of, I would honestly have to say, Pantera to a certain extent. I don't know if you guys were picking up that same vibe as well, but it was really nice seeing the band perform his theme song live. He probably had the most significant entrance from the entire TakeOver event, but definitely, as always, when it comes to these TakeOver events, I always enjoy the production element aspect of it. I always enjoy the commentating, but this go round, it makes it even that much more special, that much more kick-ass, because Mauro Ranallo, who, as you all know, returned to the WWE just a couple of months ago to be the new lead color commentator for the NXT brand, and I'm really glad that worked out because, quite honestly, Mauro Ranallo was a really good fit in the WWE. It sucks that things did not play out for him on the main roster. Maybe at some point down the future at a later date, they can give it another go, but I'm happy that he's down there calling the action in NXT. Not to mention, this frees up his calendar a little bit so he can still meet all his other commitments, such as his podcasting, his MMA, calling boxing matches, etc. I mean, the guy is all over the place, as you all know. So, our first matchup that we had, we saw Johnny Wrestling Gargano, taking on Cien Almas. That was a fantastic opener for this year's TakeOver event. Really great technical matchup that was just going back and forth. These two guys, I tell you what, every time I turn around and I miss just a couple of episodes of NXT, by the time I start binge watching, catching up on what all I've missed leading up into a TakeOver event, it's always awesome to be able to kick back and appreciate the continuing development of certain stars. Not just promos, but definitely for me, I'm a sucker for how they're operating in the ring. And Cien Almas, he has just come a long way from when I first started watching him on the NXT roster. Closing moments of Cien Almas taking on Gargano. We saw Almas connect with a big buckle bomb or Gargano. Almas goes for a cover, only receives a 2 count. The crowd eating up this match, really loving the hell out of it. Almost signals that he's ready to finish off Gargano. Fans right behind Gargano, but there is actually some chance for Cien Almas as well. Yeah, it was that on point. We saw Gargano with a back kick and then a super kick followed up. Gargano scoops Almas and launches him into the middle turnbuckle. It was pretty sweet. He threw that guy like he was some type of a spear or something. Gargano then signals he's ready to finish off the match, but Vega, who as you all know has been the new escort / valet manager, if you will, for Almas, she distracts my man Gargano by throwing a DIY shirt at him. And I wish he didn't just look at the shirt. I mean, he actually gets the shirt from Vega, and he's actually trying to unravel the shirt. He's trying to see, like, what exactly is going on with the shirt. I'm like, bump that. I would just immediately drop it so you can focus on the freaking match. But that little distraction right there, Almas was able to take advantage of as he connected with a drop kick into the corner. Almas hits with the big hammerlock DDT to pick up the victory. Fantastic opener to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. From there, we see in attendance, few people were in attendance, Raw General Manager Kurt Angle, SmackDown General Manager Daniel Bryan. They were watching from their skybox. Samoa Joe, we should note, was also there. Trying to figure out who else was there in the crowd. Kevin Owens was definitely there. Let's see, who else was there in the crowd? Those are really the most notable names that's jumping out to me right now. Probably as we continue on during the broadcast, maybe some more names will pop up that'll have me go, oh yeah, by the way. But from there, we pretty much go into our next matchup, which was the NXT Tag Team titles, as Sanity had took on the Authors of Pain. Yeah, representing Sanity for this tag team bout, we had Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane. They were taking on the NXT Tag Champions, Authors of Pain. How much of a factor would Nikki Cross be at ringside? Main question you got to ask yourself right there. We saw a really sweet spot in this matchup where we saw the action go outside of the ring, and there was a table that looked as though it was being set up, and we would see that table. I think the table had got propped up or something like that, but long story short, we actually saw Nikki Cross go through the table. I know, right? Yeah, let's give you some key highlights. So we saw pretty much towards middle/end of the match, we saw the Authors of Pain. They would double team on Wolf, but he was able to keep coming at them. Authors then connected with a neck breaker power bomb. Nice double team move right there. That only had got them a near fall. Wolf ends up connecting with a pretty sweet Frankensteiner. Akeem gets sent to the floor. We see Eric Young, another factor you got to worry about on top of Nikki Cross. How much of a factor would Eric Young be as well? Eric Young, he gets in here as he gets the tag, comes in to take Razier down with a neck breaker. Oh, so forgive me, guys. I believe Eric Young was actually part of... I thought you... Nah, well, you guys figure it out. Anyway, so Akeem got sent to the floor. Eric Young gets the tag, comes in, takes Razier down with a neck breaker. Young gets riled up as the fans are popping big time for this. Young goes to the top, but Razier crotches him. Razier climbs up for a superplex after that. Akeem comes over for a double team, but Nikki holds Eric Young, which causes Akeem to powerbomb Rear instead. This leads to EY getting a close 2 count thanks to his location in the ring at that point. So from there we saw the Authors. They end up on the floor trying to catch a quick breather. Young nails a big dive to take them both down. Wolf leaps out next for another pop from the crowd. Nikki gets into the ring. She's going belligerent as the fans, they're happy that she's now officially getting involved. She looks to go for a dive, but Ellering comes in, and fans, they didn't like that spot as referee gets in between them. Ellering is sent out of the ring while Nikki goes to the top. Akeem catches her in midair and holds her. Meanwhile, Killian Dane charges, sends Nikki and Akeem through the table that Eric Young had brought out earlier. That's the spot I was referencing where the fans had pretty much ate that all up. Awesome chants starting, all that crazy stuff. Wolf tags in and they do the double team. Razier, actually they double teamed Razier, I should say, from out of the corner. Wolf covers for the pin, and folks, you have new tag team champions in Sanity. Again, I don't watch NXT weekly like some of you guys do. What I'll actually end up doing is I'll watch one episode, and then sometimes my work schedule gets a little bit crazy, but for the most part I am watching it every single week. But there's actually several weeks that'll go by where I don't check out the product, but then usually I end up binge watching and catching up on what all I've missed. And contrary to how some people may feel about the Authors of Pain, I still feel in my heart of hearts that they have made a lot of significant progression since they came up the NXT roster. Yes, without a doubt, very green. Great look though. Great manager and Paul Ellering. I got to tell you, from what I saw tonight, they continue to evolve. They have not been stagnant. They've not been stalemate. They have been progressing, and I think, quite honestly, given everything that is currently going on with the main WWE roster, and anybody that's been listening to the show for a long period of time knows how big of a fan I have been of the Authors of Pain, wanting them to come up on the main roster. And I personally feel at this point, especially keeping in the back of your mind, WWE is talking about doing another shakeup sometime in the very near future, possibly right after SummerSlam. I would think maybe 2 weeks or so after SummerSlam. I would just imagine that the Authors of Pain are going to be coming up the roster. If you ask me straight up where I personally would like to see them go, I would like to see them be the perfect foils, or spoils, if you will, great adversaries, let's leave it at that, for New Day and those tag titles. That's personally where I'd like to see them go, because over on the Smackdown side of things, we don't really have a dominant, in-your-face, kick-ass
heel tag team. Now, some would say, Lee, what about the Usos? The Usos have always had their fan base, and you know, when they went the heel route, they did get the reactions that they needed when they were heels, but the thing is, they were doing it so well, they were doing it so much better than when they were faces, that the fans had actually started to come around to liking their new demeanor. So they're kind of now a little bit, I hate to say it, but they're almost kind of tweeners right now. Whereas maybe the Authors of Pain, I generally feel that the Authors of Pain may have a better shot out the gate in being just straight up baby faces. I mean, we'll have to see how it honestly plays out, but from the way it appears right now, overwhelmingly the crowds are still into the New Day. When was the last time you recall an episode of Raw or SmackDown, now that they're over on the SmackDown side of things, being booed out of the arena? Once in a blue moon, you may come across a few fans that's tired of their gimmick and all that, tired of their shtick, their shtick. But for the most part, everybody unanimously is still digging the New Day. So, Authors of Pain, New Day, it's got a nice ring to it. I'd like to know what you guys think. I know there's probably going to be a lot of you guys that's going to be like, nah, it'd be better to see Authors of Pain head on over to the Raw side of things. No, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because every single week that goes by Wednesday I'm going, who had the better show? Was it Raw or was it SmackDown? And usually my mind is pretty much made up as soon as SmackDown is off the air Tuesday nights. But I love marinating on it and coming back to it that Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. And almost every single time I'm going, SmackDown had the better show this week. What makes SmackDown such the better show for those of you that keep skipping out on SmackDown and everything as opposed to Raw? Well, when you look at how things are operating on the SmackDown standpoint, you have more storyline continuity that connects in such a way where very rare on the SmackDown side of things do you go, well, that was a little bit silly. Now, granted, they've done a few questionable things that have made you kind of go, well, why the hell did they do that? That doesn't quite make any sense. But for the most part, the storylines over there, the way that they're booking the talent, and they're shaking things up. They're trying new things. They're trying new matchups. I got to give SmackDown a lot of credit, the SmackDown team and all that. I don't really think they get enough credit as it is. They do a really, really good job. As AJ Styles had said a while back, SmackDown makes them, Raw takes them. That's pretty much how it goes. So, no, I actually would like to see the Authors of Pain do their thing, come on over to the SmackDown side of things. Like I said, I'd like to hear from you guys with regards to that one. But, yeah, we got new tag team champions Insanity. You know, Authors of Pain are probably going to revoke that rematch clause. I would imagine that's going to be playing out over the next several weeks of NXT programming. Should see where that plays out. So, post-match, as the crowd is cheering for Sanity as the new tag team champions for NXT, we saw Young and Wolf celebrating when Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, Red Dragon from ROH, suddenly appeared and they took both men out. Fish and O'Reilly, who recently, as you all know and recall, made their NXT TV debuts, ended up destroying all of Sanity, leaving them laid out to a really great euphoric roar from the crowd. This would not be the only time we would see Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. A little bit of a teaser for what's to come later. Told you about Aleister Black taking on Hideo Itami. My God, and we had a special color commentator for this bout. It was actually none other than good old JR, Jim Ross, and I just got to friendly remind you all, I did have the opportunity to check out Jim Ross at DC Improv last Thursday, because I know we're still into this week, so I'm not saying this week, but last Thursday, what was that, August 10th, I was able to see Jim Ross bringing his ringside one-man show to the nation's capital, and it was awesome. I actually had wrote up a really good editorial. I've been receiving some really good praise from some of my colleagues, some listeners, and private emails, messages, and all that. Check it out. It's actually available on the website right now over at infinity1productions.com. That's with an E. Put in the actual number 1, infinity1productions.com. Myself and the beautiful, the lovely Tammy, we're going to be actually sitting down this Sunday morning, maybe Sunday afternoon, and we're actually going to try to see if we can lay down audio and video recounting everything that had took place. Our Patreon members are going to get first dibs on that, and then later on, probably in the middle of this coming work week, we may go on ahead and release it to all other forms of social media, YouTube, and all that, etc. But Aleister Black taking on Hideo Itami. Can we just start from the entrances? I felt really bad for Hideo Itami because he came out with that CAW generic type of entrance, and then when we saw Aleister Black come out with the whole band that's been doing his theme song, the instrumental and all that, or the official theme song, when we saw them actually perform it live, you're just going, damn, this kicks mega ass. And I definitely want to give them a lot of props, because for those of you that maybe were checking out that band and you're like, who the hell are they? Code Orange. That's the name of the band. It was Code Orange, with a new singer performing Aleister Black's theme song. This was one of, as JR would put it, a slobber knocker, and I don't use that term loosely. This was a straight up physical, all balls out. It was one of those type of matches that, my God, I can just imagine the marks, the bruises that these guys had on them after this match was over, because they legitimately were slapping the hell out of each other, whether it was in the face, the body, whatever. There were definitely kicks. I can only imagine how painful some of those kicks were, but I mean, this was, do I dare, this wasn't even a technical match. I mean, this was drastically different than the Johnny Gargano taking on Cien Almas match, and I think a lot of you guys that actually saw this match would definitely agree with me. For me, hands down, this gets the seal of approval from me. This gets the match of the year candidate for NXT, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure a lot of you guys would probably agree with that assessment as well. Let's pick it up towards the final moments for this particular matchup. We saw Aleister Black, really good, strong offense, coming in on Hideo Itami, dropped him with a nice big clothesline that only had got him a 2 count. Itami, most of this match, he was focusing on the neck of Black. We ended up seeing Itami connect with a fisherman suplex. That only had got him a near fall. Black, he ended up flooring Itami with a big kick. Itami, he appears to be knocked out cold. Why we didn't see Black capitalize, like, off the break, I'm not sure, but Black would end up going to the top, where Itami was able to come to, cut him off, climbs up, tried to go for a superplex. Black sends Itami to the mat with an elbow to the neck. Itami gets back up, and Black is knocked off into the turnbuckle as Itami climbs back up, hits a really pretty sweet Michinoku driver, aka a Falcon Arrow, from the top turnbuckle. Black is busted wide open at this point. This only had got Hideo a near fall. They ended up trading big shots in the middle of the ring. Black nails with a big knee, but Itami responds with the Falcon Arrow, this time for another 2 count. Itami, a little bit of hesitation with a drop kick to the corner. Black ends up avoiding the GTS as Itami tried to push him. and he's demanding that the fans give him respect. He wants that respect now. Fans booing the hell out of Itami. Finish to this matchup, we saw Black connect out of nowhere with the Black Mass to pick up the 1, the 2, the 3. Hell of a match. This was one of the most physical. I said this on Twitter, and I'm reiterating it again as I stand behind this statement. This was one of the most physical matchups I have seen in recent WWE memory. I mean, for me, very, very memorable. If I had to point out one particular matchup from this year's NXT TakeOver event, a match that maybe I would show to somebody that has never checked out the NXT brand before. They watched Raw, they watched Smackdown, but they don't check out NXT. This is probably the one match I would show them from this event, and I guarantee you they would be hooked on NXT and want to check out what all else they have been missing. Want to just take this time out to kindly remind you all you're checking out a special edition of the RCWR Show with yours truly, Lee Sanders, as we are talking WWE NXT Brooklyn Takeover 3 Fallout. Oh my God. If y'all are appreciating this episode so far, make sure you click on that heart button or that like. Share this episode all throughout social media. Retweet it, favorite it. If you haven't subscribed already, do subscribe, as is one of the many ways you can keep up with new content that is released on a weekly basis. Told y'all about some special important news that's going to be coming about for the RCWR show. Pretty happy to tell you all that me and the missus were talking about it. Finances are really starting to pick up, and the way it's projecting right now, we are definitely going to be able to go to Brooklyn Takeover next year. As in case you all had missed it, WWE for a 4th consecutive year will be bringing NXT Takeover to the Barclays Center, and we are definitely going to be doing our very best to make it happen. We are going to be going out there, so rest assured the RCWR show is going to be on the road. We are going to be checking out all the fun action from NXT Takeover. Let us continue on. We only got a couple of more matches to talk about at this point. We only got 2 more matches. The NXT women's title match between Amber Moon and Asuka. Her rank at this point was 504, or is it 505, guys? Need you all to give me the correct math on that one. But I mean, if you really want to be technical, depending on when you're listening to this, she's definitely going to be past 504 and 505, but you get the idea. An impressive reign. Right now, she is the 2nd longest reigning female WWE champion in the company's history. So, I mean, can we, take that a step further? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, boys and girls, but she's also, surpassed CM Punk's record and all that. So, I mean, this is a really big freaking deal. So many people were under the impression that this was going to be it. Amber Moon was actually going to be able to get the job done with this matchup, but close but no cigar. But I tell you what, it was a damn good back and forth match. Many times throughout this bout, I was under the impression that Amber Moon was going to get it, especially when they were telling the story of her left arm being messed up, her left arm pretty much being the focal point for a lot of the attack that was coming from Asuka. I was really under the impression that Amber Moon was going to get this, but no cigar, man. Asuka is still your NXT Women's Champion. Let's pick it up a little bit towards the middle, taking y'all up to the end of the match. Key point where I saw Asuka connect with a running hip attack. After that, there was more sequence of back and forth between both women. Asuka ends up going for another hip attack, but Amber blocks most of it. Asuka runs into a knee for her effort. Amber Moon then connects with a tornado suplex from the 2nd turnbuckle. Asuka still manages to kick out despite that. Amber comes in with a little bit more offense. Asuka drops her with a kick. Asuka then with several brutal kicks to the face. Amber counters and drives Asuka to the mat. That only got another near fall. Amber ends up on top, but Asuka cuts her off. There's a lot more back and forth going on between both women. Amber ends up catching Asuka in the Eclipse from out of nowhere, and that was, a lot of people, including myself, thought maybe that was going to be it at that point, but it wasn't. That was only a very close near fall. Both women are now down as the crowd is eating this up. By the way, special shout out to the crowd. They were just representing big time for this event. Really great crowd. And look, we already know that in less than 24 hours, this crowd is going to be showing up for SummerSlam. A vast majority of this crowd is going to be in attendance for SummerSlam. But I tell you, as always, when it comes to these NXT events, it's always more adult oriented as opposed to kids are also there in attendance and all. So I really didn't see that many kids in attendance for this takeover event. They definitely were representing, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have been noticing that as well, now that I've kind of been bringing that up a couple of times. Going back to our matchup, Amber goes up to the top rope, but Asuka puts the referee in front of her. Referee gets out of the way as Amber leaps for a pretty sweet crossbody. Asuka rolls through, covers for a 2 count. Asuka and the referee, they begin to argue. Amber takes advantage, nails with a big kick for a close 2 count. But Amber, once again, so close, no cigar. This was a really good back and forth matchup. Fans at this point were chanting NXT. Asuka goes for the armbar, but Amber gets a quick pin attempt. Asuka would then drop Amber into the Asuka lock as the crowd was chanting for this big time. Asuka would then roll over to tighten that grip. Finally, Amber had tapped out. And I tell you, the arrogance, the cockiness from Asuka, it just grows more and more. Every single title defense, every single matchup. And once again, the big question that is asked, and it was definitely stressed multiple times after this match was over by Mauro Ranallo and crew, which is who, if anyone, could possibly take the NXT Women's title away from Asuka. I put my own theory out there, and I'm not sure how a lot of you all feel, but it's very well possible. The first one could be, and I like this idea the most, it could be a situation where maybe Ronda Rousey is the one that will eventually come in and dethrone Asuka. The reason why I bring up Ronda Rousey, I'm sure as many of you all know, Ronda has had great love and appreciation for professional wrestling for many, many years. She has, of course, been a big fan of the WWE. She has made a few appearances at WWE, participated in WrestleMania, as you all know. We've heard rumblings that there's been, in addition to all of this that I'm mentioning, some type of training that had went down. Triple H is debuting what exactly is going on with Ronda, basically saying, hey, whenever she decides she wants to get into the world of pro wrestling, we'll be here, we'll be waiting for her, but we don't quite feel she's done with her MMA career just yet. But, you know, hey, we definitely will continue. I think they're just dumbing that down. I think there's a lot more to what's being put out there that meets the eye and the ear. So depending on how far along negotiations successfully go with a Ronda possibly coming to the WWE, I think honestly Ronda could very well be the one to dethrone Asuka. Now I know a lot of people would love to see Ronda on the main WWE roster, and I actually beg to differ. I think with what's going on right now with the current landscape of the main roster, just looking at the women's divisions alone, would Ronda help? Yes, she would help out tremendously. But at the same time, I'm thinking about things more from just a business standpoint, from a more marketing standpoint, and definitely from the position of making sure Ronda is getting all the tools needed to be successful. And I think you gotta make sure that she does it on the right note. I think her coming through the Performance Center, coming through NXT, makes a lot more sense. I can honestly see her develop so fast, excel very well on the roster, that maybe within a year she actually would come up to the main roster. I could definitely see a scenario like that playing about, but that's what I think could possibly end up happening. Another scenario, as one of you, the listeners, have pointed out, Lee, maybe she's actually gonna come up to the main roster looking for a challenge because she's pretty much defeated everybody in NXT. That's an interesting idea as well. It could very well happen. We'll see. Another idea that could very well possibly happen, I kind of like the idea of, honestly, maybe a rematch down the road with Amber Moon. Maybe it's a situation where if you really want to increase the stakes, if Amber doesn't get the job done that one final time that she takes on Asuka, that's it. She's not going to get another title shot for however long Asuka is the NXT champion. So just a little food for thought right there. So we have one more match to talk about, and that is for the NXT title, as Drew McIntyre took on the champion Bobby Roode. We saw the NYPD and drums band out to assist Drew McIntyre for his entrance. He made his way to the ring. Wasn't bad. It was actually a pretty damn good entrance, I must say so myself. From there we saw Bobby Roode come out to another glorious entrance. This one was very symbolic. As many of you all know, Ric Flair has been battling health problems. He recently had some surgery and things were looking pretty grim. But it looks like now everything is starting to get better for the most part. Just to provide you all with an update in case you all maybe don't know, according to Ric Flair's manager, publicist, Ric Flair is now awake. He is alert, very coherent. He actually was cutting a promo on a nurse, believe it or not. So the manager noted that he has long ways to go before making a full recovery, but that as far as what looked to be pretty bad, pretty shaky, looks like that is now in the rear view mirror, as now it is just all about making sure Rick gets back to the best health as humanly possible, get back up there to 100%. So definitely want to wish Ric Flair a speedy recovery. But Bobby Roode's entrance was really badass because he came out, he had on what I dubbed the Ric Flair robe, his color scheme and all that. It was something like he's never worn before in NXT. Just the way that his robe was designed, homage to the Nature Boy Ric Flair, even right down to the text that was on the Titantron. Bobby Roode even coming down to the ramp, going to the stage, doing a little bit of Ric Flair strutting and all that. I wasn't the only one that made this observation. It wasn't like, you're reading too much into it. No, he actually paid a little bit of homage to the Nature Boy. I don't know if maybe that was a collaboration between he and Triple H. I'm sure they both are well aware of the type of reactions that's coming about on social media, as many people, including myself on this very show, has said a few times, hey, the way Bobby Roode comes out, kind of somewhat reminiscent of the Nature Boy. So I thought that was a really nice nod. I'm sure Triple H is like, man, come on, Nate, pull through, man. But really great matchup between both men. Final moments of that matchup, we had saw Drew McIntyre take out Roode from the top with a fireman's carry. Or at least he was trying to, when Roode managed to slide out and connected with a Liger bomb for only a 2 count. They traded shots back and forth until they both were able to come to their feet. We saw Drew. He came in with some nice, good, strong kicks, chops, just continuing to unload on each other, basically. Roode sends Drew into the corner with an enziguri. Drew will connect with the Claymore kick for only a 2 count as Roode gets to his foot, manages to get his foot to the bottom rope. Roode would then roll to the floor as fans were booing. Referee started counting as Drew managed to get to his feet, runs through the ropes, nails with a great huge dive from over the top rope. Took out Roode as that laid him out on the floor. Fans were chanting, holy shit, at that spot. Because, I mean, come on, this guy's like 6'6", 230-something pounds. And he's just able to do that with ease like a freaking cruiserweight. It was a really sweet spot. From there, Drew had brought Roode back into the ring as the referee continued to count, almost making it to 10. Drew waits for Roode to get up as the fans rally behind him. He would then turn around, he's trying to attack Roode, but from his momentum, Roode was able to capitalize on it as he pretty much turned it into a big spine buster. Roode then goes for the glorious DDT, but that gets blocked. Drew drops down for a 2 count. Drew would then catch Roode in a tilt-a-whirl, but Roode turns that into a really great counterist, glorious DDT for another near fall. Roode waits a minute, but decides he wants to try to go for another glorious DDT. He actually connected with that one, and rather than go for the pin, he actually tried to look for a third glorious DDT, thinking surely that would put him out, but Drew manages to counter that third DDT. He managed to block it successfully and turned it into the Claymore kick for the win and the title. So Drew McIntyre, your new WWE NXT champion. After the match, as Drew is sitting on his knees, enjoying the moment that's happening, we continue to see the replays. We come back as Drew is holding on to the title, when all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, Kylie O'Reilly and Bobby Fish suddenly appear from the ring steps. Drew approaches them, but he's attacked from behind by former Ring of Honor champion Adam Cole. It's Adam Cole, baby! From ROH. As all three of them just put a mud stomping into him. Fans were eating this up. They loved this. They mainly were excited for Adam Cole. And as my girl had pointed out, because it was her first time actually seeing Adam Cole, she goes, wow, he looks like a short, dark-haired version of Shawn Michaels. I said, yeah, give or take, if you want to go that route. Yeah, sure. But that is pretty much how your NXT Takeover event ended, as you had O'Reilly, you had Adam Cole and Fish standing tall over a laid-out new NXT champion in Drew McIntyre. So you got that new element that's coming about. You know, you can't also but help but wonder what's going on with Bobby Roode. Is he going to try to put that rematch clause out there? And or is there going to be some type of a scenario if maybe Bobby Roode is going to try to come to some type of an arrangement with Roode, with Red Dragon? I said Roode. But you can't help but wonder if Roode is going to try to make some type of an arrangement with Adam Cole and Red Dragon. But I tell you what, we heard the rumblings for many weeks now that Adam Cole was on his way to the WWE. We heard that he had already reported to the Performance Center, was getting in a little bit of training and all that. But to see the man actually in the WWE, I gotta tell you, other than when Kevin Owens had made his NXT debut, for me, this has to be the next best thing that came about in WWE in recent memory. For me personally, because I've been a fan of Adam Cole for many, many, many years now. Personally, I am looking forward to the next batch of NXT shows because I just am eagerly anticipating the type of promo that O'Reilly, Fish, Adam Cole is going to be cutting. Like, what exactly is going on here? Why did they feel so compelled to attack the NXT champion? What is this really all about? And, there's that part of me that would love to see a perfect storyline go down where basically maybe these guys say, hey, we were over in ROH and, we heard all this buzz that was going on over here in NXT and, we want to see what all this hype is about. But, so far we aren't really that impressed. You could do some lame ass shit like that. But I'm looking at this stable, man, and I'm just going, is this the Kingdom 2.0? And we all know how much of a great stable the Kingdom was in ROH. And just to kind of remind you guys, that may actually happen, especially considering how poorly received Maria and Mike Kanellis are right now. Let's not also forget that members of the Kingdom, it consisted of Adam Cole, Michael Bennett, Matt Hardy, Maria Kanellis. You had Matt Taven, TK O'Ryan, and Vinny. So, you pretty much got half of the Kingdom stable already in the WWE. Now, you probably wouldn't be able to resurrect that name. You probably have to go in a different direction. I don't know, maybe you could call it Thy Kingdom Come. Who knows? Or Thy Kingdom, who knows? But I'm excited. It's a really great time to be a wrestling fan right now, man. Especially if you're one that checks out the ROH product. You're checking out the Lucha Underground and all that. It's really great seeing these great new, fresh talents coming into the company. But at the same time, you can't help but wonder if and when WWE pulls this trigger for this new shakeup, right? That's going to be going down a little bit shortly after SummerSlam. Just what exactly does the future hold? For starters, what does the future hold for Bobby Roode? Is Bobby Roode maybe now going to get called upon to the main roster? And if so, where is he maybe going to land? Honestly, he's another one who, you look at the current landscape of the main roster shows right now, he would be great on either brand. But just for the hell of it, because it seems like Jinder Mahal really isn't clicking that well with people, despite the great development in his promos, the ring work. It just seems like it's not clicking on all cylinders. Do you maybe have Bobby Roode slide on in there on the SmackDown side of things? For me, I just feel like Roode would get a little, definitely not a little, he would get big time lost in the shuffle. So a lot of interesting developments that could come about, man, but I'm just getting the gut feeling right now that we could be seeing the final days of Bobby Roode, for sure Asuka in NXT. I'm also getting the vibe that Authors of Pain, they're going to be another one that's going to be moving. I think those are the main ones everybody should have their eyes on right now as far as the NXT pool. I don't think the NXT pool is going to really be tapped into like that this go round for the Superstar Shakeup. But those are definitely the ones I want for all of you all to keep your eyes peeled for. But overall, this was a fantastic takeover event in recent memory. These takeovers never disappoint, especially when it comes to the takeovers from Brooklyn. Never disappoints. Great job as always. Definitely got to give it up to Triple H and crew. Another home run, as now all eyes are set on SummerSlam. And I was asked this a couple of times. Yes, the RCWR show will be live as soon as SummerSlam goes off the air to talk about SummerSlam Fallout. So make sure you catch that. I will be airing live exclusively on Spreaker. You guys will be able to catch me. And we'll definitely make sure we have that episode be available on all other forms of social media, all other platforms such as Google Play, iTunes, etc. But NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3, it gets a strong pass from me. It gets a strong thumbs up. Scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the crap, 10 being awesome sauce. Honestly, I got to give it, I'm staying strong. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think a 9 out of 10 is very, very fair. It's very modest. Loved it. So definitely want to hear what you guys had thought of this year's TakeOver event. Make sure you cast your votes right now as the Twitter poll is up. And it is still holding steady at 100%. So cast your vote if you have not done so already. And be sure to give me a follow on Twitter as well while you're at it. At the RCWR Show. Also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. Same handle. I will catch you all for SummerSlam this Sunday as soon as it goes off the air. Until then, I'm wishing all of you all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. See you all next go round. Adios.
Thanks for listening. An Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive.
The new TNA is coming to Patreon, and that's TNA as in twerk and ass. Go to patreon.com/TNA, and for as little as $3 a month, become a rewards member of the newest, hottest, twerkiest fan page on the web and or on your mobile device. For all things twerk, go to patreon.com/TNA or download the Patreon mobile app either from the Apple Store or Google Play. Be a part of the hippest community, get rewards, and see all the girls and the hot twerk action. We'll be continuously adding content daily from launch on August 11th at midnight Pacific time. Don't miss out and be a part of the party. Make it rain on August 11th at midnight Pacific time. This is your personal invite to the launch at patreon.com/TNA. Once again, the Twerk Show launches on August 11th at midnight Pacific time. Head on over to patreon.com/TNA. And again, on August 11th at midnight Pacific time, that's when they launch. Make it rain, y'all. Have a awesome twerking ass day. May I have your attention, please? If you would like to treat your family to a luxury 1 or 2 bedroom condominium vacation and one of over 3,000 destinations for only $39 per night, call 1-888-229-3542 to see if you qualify for this incredible opportunity. Only a limited number of condos are available. Call now to see if you qualify. Many luxurious condominiums worldwide are looking for qualified travelers to participate in this promotion. If you qualify, you will be able to stay in a beautiful, luxurious condominium normally selling for $450 per night for only $39 per night. Call 1-888-229-3542. One more time, 1-888-229-3542. That's 1-888-229-3542. Call now. If you're struggling with drug or alcohol or even prescription drug use, Harvey House Manor can help you. The Harvey House Manor is a drug and alcohol licensed facility that is monitored by the state of California. They have certified counselors that provide therapy on a daily basis. Activities include art therapy, anger management, relapse prevention, just to name a few. Harvey House Manor provides meals, transportation services, activities within the sober community such as beach outings, bowling, and various barbecues. To reach an intake counselor, please call toll-free 1-800-953-1383. Again, toll-free at 1-800-953-1383. Also, on Facebook and Instagram at The Harvey House Manor. Once again, The Harvey House Manor.